Online animators have been at the heart of countless dramas over the past several years. These guys have gotten up to so many nefarious schemes that I have made countless videos documenting their war crimes. And today, it's time for us to take a look back on them. In this video, we're going through every single mainline Animayhem episode ever published. Right on from the first episode made in September 2025 to the most recent one. You guys are in for an absolute treat, so whether you have this on to fall asleep to, or whether you have it on for a long car ride or plane journey, or you just have it on in the background whilst you're doing something, get comfortable and relax, because we're about to go through every single episode ever published. Without further ado, this is the Animayhem compilation of everything so far. YouTube animators are sometimes some of the hardest working creators on the platform, creating the highest quality content, spending hundreds of hours molding their craft to utter perfection. Other times though, they're lustful lolly enjoyers and talentless manipulators. Guess what kind of animators we're going to be talking about today? In this video, we're going to go through just a few of the scandals, conflicts, and controversies of YouTube's most famous and infamous animators. I'm going to start off with some tamer stories, and as the video progresses, we'll get into the more insane and dark tales. With that said, let's begin with, in terms of metrics, one of the most downfallen YouTube animators. Back in the mid-2010s, YouTube animation was really starting to kick off, and several recognizable names would make their debuts on the platform, including the likes of The Odd Ones Out, Tim Tom, Erod Story, and Jaden Animations. And one common denominator between all of these guys, and many other YouTube animators, is that initially they don't always like to show their face. Here's a small tip to any aspiring YouTubers that are watching this video. Audience members, for the most part, like to know what their favourite creators look like, because it helps them forge a connection with them. For most genres of content, you're generally expected to be on camera, but for storytime animators, it works a little bit differently. You see, for them, having a face reveal is more seen as optional than mandatory, and that's because they already have a face of the channel that's going to be their character. For that reason, many of them just never face reveal. Now, there are countless reasons behind why someone would feel uncomfortable to have their face on camera, but I think that in general, if someone chooses not to have their face out there, then that needs to be respected. And using the case of Jaden Animations' face reveal as an example, I think that the vast majority of people, or at the very least the vast majority of Jaden Animation fans, agree with me. So if you don't know this story, Jaden was one such animator that at first didn't have her face out there. If you've been a long-time fan of hers, then you might know that especially early on in her days on YouTube, she struggled quite heavily with her body image. I've discussed her song Empty in collaboration with Boy in a Band several times on the channel by this point, but long story short, she had an eating disorder and severe issues with her appearance. She would discuss these issues within her video Why I Don't Have a Face Reveal, released in April 2017. And it was within that video that she'd tell an unsettling story from VidCon 2016. If you don't know VidCon, it's probably the largest convention for YouTube and content creation. Back in 2016, Jaden agreed to attend, but there was one small problem. She hadn't face revealed yet. On top of that, according to Jaden, at this point in her life, her satisfaction with her body was at an all-time low. For months, she had been starving herself and treating herself worse than poorly. But she told everyone that she was going to attend, and she felt an obligation to stay true to her word. So, according to Jaden, she put on a brave face and went. This is how she described it in her video.
I didn't want to let people down by breaking my promise to be there, and I wanted to see all my friends and supporters, but I was in such a terrible state. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I was panicking, I wasn't ready, I wasn't back to normal yet, but I was approaching so quickly and there wasn't any time to go back. I told myself this was my punishment. I did this to myself. So I put on a mask and pretended to be fine.
But then, something happened that would lead to a decade of controversy. Obviously, with VidCon being a creator event, a lot of people that go there want to make content out of it. And especially in the mid-2010s when the genre was at its high, some people would vlog. But with this came a problem, because Jaden soon realised that her face was going to be in the vlog of a YouTuber that she attended the con with, and according to her, she pled with him to have her face edited out.
I messaged the person who was taking a lot of video footage and asked them if I could censor my face out. I'm not going to mention who this person is because that detail doesn't add anything to this story, and I don't think it would benefit anyone if I did.
She even offered to edit it for this creator, and he agreed. However, upon receiving the edited footage, he decided to release the uncensored, original version. Flash forward to Jaden's video. While he was unnamed in it, upon hearing a description of this unnamed YouTuber, fans were quick to piece the clues together and soon realised that the content creator she was talking about was another YouTube animator known as Alex Clark. Now, here's where things get interesting, because upon the internet agreeing that it was Alex Clark that Jaden was talking about, he was essentially shunned by many of her fans and many fans of the storytime animation genre. In theory, this should be the kind of controversy that would eventually blow over. You would expect him to be plagued by it for maybe a few weeks or maybe a month or two, but according to Alex, he has been dogged by hate by Jaden animation fans for several years now. Years on from when this controversy first began. 6 years since Jaden Animation's video about it, Alex Clark would finally make a response in a video titled VidCon 2016 Explained. Within this video, he would finally reveal his side of the story, and made the claim that he didn't know the severity of Jaden's situation. He made the point that he wasn't the first person to include Jaden's face in his content, and claimed that he thought that he and Jaden were friends prior to Jaden's video.
There are claims that I doxed Jaden by being the first big YouTuber to post her face. This is false. As an example, at the time I had 200,000 subscribers, and a week before my video went live, a channel with 1 million subscribers posted a video that featured Jaden. As far as I know, the only channel Jaden had issues with was me. If you'd like more details, I'll put an explanation on the screen which you can read.
Alex's response was received very poorly, only receiving 4.7 thousand likes compared to 12,000 dislikes. It's now been 2.5 years since Alex's response, and some of you watching this might be thinking that I'm just reopening old wounds. Because that should be the end of it, right? Well, I thought so too. Until I looked in the comment section and saw that Alex Clark has been responding to criticisms ever since this video came out, even as recently as 1 month ago. This isn't something that Jaden's fans have forgotten, and it's not something that Alex has either. As you've seen, and as you'll continue to see throughout the rest of this video, YouTube animators can be cancelled for all sorts of reasons. When it comes to our next animator though, by far the largest that we'll be discussing today, he was cancelled at the very start of this year for some absolutely reprehensible business practices. So what happens when greed corrupts a YouTuber? Let's find out. Nutshell Animations is a very large TikTok and YouTube channel, which uploads, as their name would suggest, animation content. In particular, their bread and butter are animated shorts, where they'll take popular audio, which isn't theirs mind you, and then animate it, with several of these videos receiving view counts in the tens of millions. In fact, almost every single one of their shorts will receive at least 1 million views. I painstakingly counted all of the videos with more than 1 million views, and the number is roughly 1,830, leading Nutshell to have received over 10 billion views. For context, Jaden Animations and The Odd Ones Out, arguably the two largest animation channels, have 8 billion views combined. Now granted, the vast majority of Nutshell Animations views come through shorts, which is another ballgame entirely to long-form content. But even still, this channel is extremely lucrative. Especially given the channel's rate of upload, you would expect it to have a few animators on the payroll, and you would expect them to be compensated fairly for their work. It's no secret that hand-drawn animation is tough work, and it takes a lot of time. Even a simple 60-second clip could take literally hours to make. But Nutshell, according to several different animators that have previously worked for them, do not pay their workers a fair wage whatsoever. But to fully understand the allegations levied against Nutshell, we have to go back to a Bedo999 video where he just reacted to Nutshell's work and called it cringy. However, in the comment section of that video came a comment that caught Bedo's eye and caused him to make a follow-up. An animator of the name Robotic Turtle claimed that they used to work for Nutshell and was paid $50 to animate his shorts. This is insane, considering that these shorts, A, are of a generally high animation quality, they're fairly fluid and you can tell that a lot of time has been put into them, and for that reason, B, they take a long time to make for each animator. If you're putting a decent amount of time into it to make sure that these animations are of the highest quality possible, $50 is going to be paying most of these animators less than minimum wage. And this is even worse considering that the comment claimed that the channel's monthly take-home is $234,000. If that figure is accurate, $50 per animation is absolutely despicable. In total, 3 animators reached out to Bido. For context, I'm taking his figures. So the first one that reached out generated 84 million views for Nutshell throughout 23 videos and was paid $1,200 for his efforts. It's estimated that these videos would have made Nutshell $12,000, so they made about 10% of the overall gross. However, the animator claimed that they had worked for 184 hours on these videos, so their pay worked out to just $6.50 an hour. In contrast, another animator received roughly $34 an hour. However, their animations were done in only 88 hours and on average generated less views for the channel, so Nutshell is rewarding laziness. Rewarding laziness isn't a crime, but at least for me, this is a critique of their business model. Worse yet, keep this in mind. If the person behind Nutshell doesn't do their own animation, and if the audio for their videos is taken from other sources, then what do they actually do? The answer: nothing. The person behind Nutshell is potentially getting $200,000 plus a month for giving the most bare bones basic prompts you would ever hear. It appears as though the person or people behind Nutshell don't do anything. So you would imagine that they would have a lot of time on their hands. Perhaps they could spend that time to devise a way to fairly pay their animators and reward hard work. But it doesn't even end there, because Bido continued to dig and discovered some fairly unethical business practices which have painted Nutshell animations out to be quite malicious and vindictive. First of all, the animators were never credited for their work. I think this would have been quite nice for Nutshell to do, considering that these videos are entirely made by the animators. Nutshell even went as far as to tell off one of the animators that were responding to positive comments praising his animations, because according to Nutshell, apparently it ruins the illusion, I guess? Realistically, I think that Nutshell just doesn't want the audience to know that it's not actually the person behind the channel who's doing the work. I'm not a fan of this whatsoever, but it's nowhere near as serious as the next revelation, as Bido went on to reveal that Nutshell often hires teenage animators. One of the animators that Bido spoke to was just 15. And here's the thing. If a YouTube channel reaches out to a teenage animator, especially a YouTube channel that's doing the numbers that Nutshell Animations is, it would be very, very easy for them to manipulate or pull strings to get the 15-year-old to do basically anything they want. I could imagine that 9 times out of 10, a 15-year-old, especially one that hasn't had work like this before, would see this as their ticket to the big time, and they would accept any offer that's thrown in front of them, even if it's a bad one, like $50 for a finished project. The chances are that they'll struggle more to say no, that they'll be less likely to know their worth compared to someone older, and just generally they'll be easier manipulated and led astray. Especially if you don't have a fair system in place to accurately compensate your employees. Seeking out child labor seems a bit predatory to me. Here's another tip to any aspiring YouTubers who are watching this. If you're ever fortunate enough to have a company that's big enough that you're hiring employees, maybe sort out the pay before you start hiring 15-year-olds. Nutshell Animations is once more back to top-level view counts. The kids that watch his content either don't care, or more likely in my opinion, don't know. And the views keep coming in the tens of millions. But if you want this video to get a view count in the tens of millions, then the best way to do that is by liking it and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Also, let me know down below in the comment section if there are any other animation controversies you'd like to see me cover in a future video. It always sucks when you see a content creator kind of skating by doing no work, and for me personally, I write the videos, I edit them, I record them. Basically everything is done by me, so as an independent creator, any ounce, any molecule or iota of support is genuinely appreciated. With that said though, we're swiftly moving on as things are about to get a lot more taboo. Even more taboo than child labour. We're moving on to an animator who is perhaps a bit too into animation, if you know what I mean. And if you don't, you'll soon see. Let's discuss Ben the Looney. To some, he's YouTube's most controversial cartoonist, or a degenerate YouTube artist. To others, well, he's nothing, because this guy is a fairly niche content creator. For 9 out of 10 people that don't know him for his controversies, the videos they might recognize, if any, was his content discussing annoying McDonald's customers. For context, his videos on this topic were made in the summer of 2016, which seemed to be the summer of YouTube animators just ragging on the annoying interactions they had in their first jobs. Ben the Looney's 2 videos on working at McDonald's have more than 1 million views combined, but his next most popular video has only 126,000 views, and that was made more than 12 years ago. If not for that, you might know him for ranting about kids' cartoons, an activity that he'd take part in any time he got the chance. He's been on YouTube for quite a long time now and has received plenty of critique throughout the years, but none of it would compare to March 2024 after Jormy49's video on him. His video is 51 minutes long, but obviously given its length, you'll understand Ben's story in much more depth than I can give you here. I'll link it down in the description in case you want to go down the Ben the Looney rabbit hole, but be warned, it's ridiculous. Given that many of the accusations and controversies about Ben are now several years old, a lot of them have been deleted or are now lost. For that reason, it's quite difficult for me to supply you with anything that isn't directly ripped from Jormy's video. For the purpose of this video though, I'm going to give you the footnotes and the highlights of what Jormy had to say about Ben. The first, the largest, and the most frequent critique that Ben receives is that this man is a straight up gooner. He's very publicly given his insightful take on Lolicon, which we'll get back to in a moment, and even had an era where his character was straight up naked as the day he was born. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff this guy was making. Ben the Looney is an accurate descriptor.
I'm gonna bring back my critically acclaimed Artist Spotlight series. And today, we have a very obscure artist all the way from Austria in the early 1900s. Let me present to you the wonderful artwork of Adolf Hitler.
And his praise of Hitler's artwork leads me onto another point, that being that many people have accused Ben of racism. Several years ago, Ben made a video about classic cartoons and the racism that's often found within them. Ben was of the opinion that anyone that was offended by these cartoons was just being too sensitive, and because he didn't find them racist, they therefore weren't. Obviously, there was also the Adolf Hitler Artist Spotlight, which I showed you before, but that was a joke. I assume. Upon the cartoon racism video receiving a lot of backlash, Ben eventually took it down. But his opinions on race and racism are absolutely nothing compared to what we're about to discuss next. Because while Adolf Hitler might have been the most controversial person that Ben made an artist spotlight about, he was in good company. Because in the very first episode of the series, Ben decided to dedicate it to the Jeffrey Epstein of YouTube, Shadman. If you don't know Shadman, he is an extremely infamous internet cartoonist. He very often drew lolly content, so characters and even in some instances, real girls that were under the age of 18 in a sexualized manner. He infamously drew an NSFW drawing of Keemstar's daughter, and was a main reason why Chris Tyson was cancelled back in 2024, as the internet discovered that Chris owned a piece of art that was drawn by Shadman. In the fallout of the drama, people were very quick to list everyone even remotely connected to Shadman, and Ben the Looney was one of those people. He gave an artist spotlight to him several years ago, essentially praising his work. And it doesn't stop at Shadman. I mean, there are multiple instances, some of which I'll show you in just a moment, of Ben defending his philosophy that because characters are fictional and not real, even if they are canonically under the age of consent, because they don't actually exist, they're all good and ready to go to be sexualized. I think that one of the main critiques of Ben is that for someone who is so invested in the cartoon medium, he's made hundreds of videos discussing children's cartoon shows, but then he turns around and makes hyper-sexualized content. He very clearly is attracted to several of the characters in these kids shows. So if any kids watch his videos, they're now subjected to him openly gooning.
Well, I miss Valentine's Day, but that's not gonna stop me from celebrating in my own way. And what is that? Drilling over what makes up my whole livelihood. Sexy cartoon gals. Now, this list may include characters that, in the context of the show they come from, are much younger than the age of consent in the real world. However, I must remind you that they exist in a completely different plane than us living, breathing human beings do. In other words, not real. At number 12, we got Velma Dinkley from the Scooby-Doo franchise. Not a bad one to start the list, and an underrated cartoon babe. Next at number 10, a more recent addition to the hot chick list, Enid from OKKO. I mean, damn! How the hell did her character design get approved for a kid's show?
Why, Ben? Why did we need to know which animated 12-year-old gets your dick the hardest, Ben? Why did you feel the need to tell the world? Why was this needed, Ben? Why? You couldn't waterboard that information out of me, man. Why does the internet need to know which underage animated girls from kids shows makes you goon the hardest, dude? Keep it out! But while Ben has undoubtedly gotten the wires crossed between kids animation and adult content, I'd argue that the next creator has gone even further. They've gone so far, in fact, that I won't even be able to show a lot of what I'm discussing. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it's pretty bad, and it's utterly disgusting that this kind of thing is allowed on YouTube. In my opinion, they're up there with the most depraved animators this site has ever seen. This is Shappy's Way, an animated YouTube channel with about 75,000 subscribers as of the time I'm writing this. Now, upon first glance, what do you notice? Probably nothing that bad. It just looks like some sort of children's animated channel. But this channel holds a dark secret, and if you don't know about it yet, it's one that I'm going to expose. This channel is one of the most messed up I've seen in months, and given the nature of my job, that's saying something. Because this channel takes on an art style that is very clearly appealing towards young children, but the content they make is extremely suggestive. Now, from what I've seen, there's nothing exactly explicit here, because if it was actually explicit, the channel would just get terminated. But as I said, the entire thing is extremely suggestive. This is fetish content. I would argue that if there's a young child on YouTube and they're not watching YouTube Kids, what they would see is some of the most suggestive animation I have ever seen wrapped up in a bluey style aesthetic. Now, it's not like the animators here are pretending. It's not like the video starts off with ABCs to hook in the kids, and then when the mum's gone off to the other room, it just starts getting weird and all that. But I think things are even worse because the vast majority of the views that this channel are getting are short form, which means that for a lot of the people watching, they're not seeking it out. It's just coming up there naturally by the YouTube algorithm. Worse yet, most of the comments seem generally supportive. Don't get me wrong, I'm not the first person to talk about Shappy's Way, and it's not like they don't see any backlash, but for the most part, at least in the videos that I found, they tend to go over well with their deviant audience. My thing is this: why this specific art style? You can make all of the suggestive animated content you want. Go for it. But to wrap it up in a bluey style aesthetic might mean that children are exposed to it. And I have a feeling that that's by design. My question is that out of all the art styles out there, out of the thousands you have to choose from, why would someone want this in particular to be the aesthetic of their suggestive content? Maybe I'm sounding like a Karen or an old man yells at cloud, I don't know, but I think that YouTube needs to be aware of this. I don't think that this sort of thing should be welcome on the platform, and I hope that we can at least put pressure on the company to at least take a look at the channel. Surely this isn't in the community guidelines. The channel is gaining millions of views a month. It's averaging just under 3 million a week. In my opinion, this is a joke, and especially given the recent crackdowns in the world on adult content, I think it's crazy, because this would be so much easier for a child to stumble across than actual adult content where they'd have to probably go and seek it out. This is recommended to them by the YouTube algorithm. If they're on shorts and they're scrolling, it will pop up. And even if they find it through search, it's not like they're going to be looking up adult content. They might just look something up, they see the colourful thumbnail, and they click on it without actually knowing what it is. I don't like to be the judge, jury, and executioner, but I think that this channel needs to go. In a previous video, I covered 4 stories of times YouTube animators got exposed, but little did I know that that was just the tip of the iceberg. You guys flooded to the comments to spill the tea on YouTube animators that had skeletons in their closets. So today, we're covering even more animation content creators who have been exposed for all sorts of things, from being money-hungry leeches to, let me just check my notes, being animal fart porn enthusiasts. I wish my life would have turned out differently, so that I didn't have to tell the world about animal fart porn, but apparently that's what we're doing today. So just like with the last video, we're going to start off with some tamer tales, and as the video progresses, the stories are going to get absolutely ridiculous. If you're weak, you can wave the white flag and tap out anytime you want. But dear viewer, if you make it to the end of this video, absolute degeneracy awaits. So further down the rabbit hole we'll march with our next story, concerning a greedy, grifting farce of a channel which might even put Nutshell Animations to shame with its laziness and desire for money by any unethical means possible. Allow me to share its story. It's no secret that YouTube can be extremely lucrative, but what happens when you try to monetize off children's curiosity by exposing them into themes and topics that are inappropriate for their age? What you have to remember is that by and large, most animation content on YouTube is marketed towards children. I know that most people watching this video will be interested in the animation niche, and not all of you guys will be children, there will be some adults here, but I think it's fair to say that the majority of animation content is made generally for younger people. And a channel like Share My Story would have a massive part of their audience be children and young teenagers, despite the fact that they make content that is completely inappropriate for those sorts of people. So let's take a walk down the channel's history so I can show you the kind of content that they've been making. I gave birth in jail at 16. I'm surprised that that thumbnail is even allowed. I'm pregnant with the wrong baby. Take a look at this. Need I say more? Adopted by a billionaire, and the thumbnail seems to be implying that this new adopted father is pursuing his daughter. I am wearing diapers at 17, which definitely won't be watched by any freaks with a fetish, nor will I am breastfed at 16. Totally normal content, guys, nothing to see here.
Hey, I'm Chris, and I've always been very close with my mom. I guess it's because my dad left us when I was a baby. Ever since, our favorite activity was her breastfeeding me. But on my 10th birthday, she asked me if I wanted to stop doing it. I was shocked and started crying because I loved drinking my mom's milk. It tastes much better than cow milk.
That video, by the way, is on 7.6 million views. Provided it's monetized, this video likely made tens of thousands of dollars, okay? Some of you guys watching this will bust your ass for 40 hours a week and be on minimum wage. That person made potentially tens of thousands of dollars for this absolute slop. The fact of the matter is, whoever is behind this channel won. They have more than 250 million channel views, and that's only scratching the surface. If you take a look at its social blade, you'll notice a very strange viewership chart. The channel took down videos which in total received 400 million combined views. Now, I'm not the first person to mention Share My Story in my content. Sournail, another content creator, made a video about them several years ago, where he mentioned a few things about the channel that I want to go over. Number one, and I don't know how important this is to you, but I definitely find it interesting. At one point in the video, Sournail goes over the content that the channel's made in the past, and I noticed something that caught my eye. Sournail mentioned a video that was uploaded several years ago, by the time that he was covering it, which was back in like 2023. So the initial video would have been made like in the early 2020s. But when I saw it on their channel, it was only a couple of months old. So why have they made the same video but uploaded it years apart? Well, I have two theories. Theory A is that YouTube demonetized a lot of their content, so now they're re-uploading their old content to try and get it monetized again. Theory B is a bit more sinister. That theory is that the content has always been monetized, but they're trying to re-upload it to cycle in more views. Most of the time on YouTube, videos get the majority of their views in the first couple of months. So most of my content from back in 2021 get relatively 0 views at this point. However, if I was to take them down and then re-upload them, everyone that was watching me would get a notification and then they'd be like, oh, let me watch this, and that might kind of get the video back into the algorithm, if you know what I mean. Long story short, they're just recycling their old content and getting paid for it. The sextuplet video, for example, had almost 10 million views when Sournail covered it, but now the re-upload only has 47,000. And it's the same length, so they haven't cut anything out. I really don't know why this was taken down and then re-uploaded the exact same several years later. And then I noticed something else. Within Sournail's video, he includes a screenshot of someone saying, "Only legends remember this video was uploaded before." So these guys have been re-uploading their own content for years, even back in 2023. And number two, the stories are fake. I don't know how big of a deal this is to you. To me, it doesn't matter so much, but there have been animated Tell My Story channels in the past which have taken user-submitted tales and, brought them to life with the power of animation. And this channel tries to pass itself off as one of those. But it's not real. And if you think that a 16-year-old is out there sucking his mum's tits and then is telling an animated storytime channel about it, I'm sorry, that's on you. And number three, and this is the main point that I'm trying to hammer home, is that the main demographic for this content is kids and teenagers. Probably upwards of maybe like 14 years old. Because no 50-year-old in their right mind is going to see an animated story of a 16-year-old sucking his mum's breast milk till she's gone dry and go, oh, that sounds like a reasonable video to watch, let me click on that. Doesn't happen. But a 10-year-old might see that and go, well, you know what? This kind of content, the animated story times that are made for young people, usually provide some sort of moral or some sort of lesson so that the people that are watching it can actually learn something. But what are you going to be learning from a 17-year-old who's still wearing nappies? There is no moral there. These topics are generally incredibly taboo, and they provide no commentary or insight on them. And this has gone unchecked for years. The channel may have started back up too. They've uploaded no content in 9 months, and all of a sudden they have 2 videos in 2 days as of the time I'm recording this. They're probably just doing the classic recycle again. So let me question YouTube here. What does this channel actually provide? They're definitely bending the rules purely for profit. Is this the sort of channel that we want to reward on the platform? Especially given YouTube's recent policy change on recycling content, I think I might just give them an @ on Twitter to give this channel a look, because that seems to be exactly what they're doing. But before we move on to our next case, I'd quickly like to say that if you're enjoying this right now, please make sure that you don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Every single like, comment, subscription is genuinely appreciated. I cannot understate that. Part 1 of this performed better than I could have even imagined. So there's definitely a possibility that I make more content like this, but the only way that I can find out if that was just a flash in the pan or if you guys are genuinely interested in this content is if you engage with it. So liking, commenting, and subscribing. So definitely keep the support coming. With that said, things are about to get rocky. In the last video, many of you guys recommended that I looked into Rocky Raccoon, so shout out to you for getting involved in the comments. So for anyone who's over the age of say 13 that's watching this, let me fill you in on who Rocky Raccoon is and why they're controversial, because I would wager the chances are you probably don't know. He's an animation YouTuber with more than 4 million subscribers, so a very large channel with a massive fan base of, well, kids. Throughout the years, many people have questioned Rocky Raccoon's behaviour, and one of the biggest examples of this was when he made a very sus animation of the girl doll from Squid Game.
Somebody stop me!
Yes, somebody stop you, Rocky Raccoon, because what the hell is this? This was included within a since deleted video where he had a bunch of animated girls doing something called the Jacko pose. The post was a zeitgeist of 2021 and became a challenge where people would shove their ass in the air above their head, like the character Jacko Valentine from the Guilty Gear franchise. To be honest, I think that this became a challenge because people wanted to see others get in that position. This is the writer's thinly veiled fetish. Maybe my brain's just porn rotted, ladies and gents. Maybe it's just me, but I think that that position is damn suggestive. So when you're putting the little girl doll from Squid Game in that position, people are gonna be questioning it. There is no way you can see this and think otherwise. I absolutely refuse to believe it. Obviously, it's a doll, so it doesn't have an age technically, but it's voiced by a 10-year-old and it's very clearly meant to be like a baby. So my question is, why did this dude think it was appropriate to take the time out of his day to make this? This would have taken some serious time. This is hand-drawn animation. Rocky Raccoon would cry on stream over the backlash and eventually took the video down. But some fans were quite sure that these were merely crocodile tears. Because, I mean, just look at his thumbnails. Are these not appealing to people that might be getting off to animated characters? Like, half of the thumbnails contain female characters in their bras and knickers, or male characters with no shirt on but crazy defined abs. In a video about the animator, a creator of the name Goat Cheese Juice was able to track down an apology by Rocky, where he stated that he made the Squid Game doll animation for more views. According to Rocky, putting the character in that position would get it seen more. So now we know for a fact that he's not above selling sex for profit. And that leads us even further down the rabbit hole because Rocky Raccoon was said to have an extremely controversial Patreon. Essentially, Rocky at a point in time made NSFW drawings and put them on their Patreon. But the problem with that is that when they came to promote their Patreon, they're essentially promoting NSFW content to their child audience. Apparently they were using the Patreon logo to cover up any nudity, so it's not like they were, explicitly showing anything. But when a large portion of your audience is made up of children, then some people don't exactly like it when you're plugging this kind of content. Rocky Raccoon still uploads, and while he sees a ton of hate, I'll be honest, this dude mogs basically everyone with his monthly view counts. Call me Dokes, because I'm on to you, Rocky Raccoon. I've seen what you do. I know who you are. I just can't prove it yet. And next up is a content creator that did drop the ball. And that creator is Nyanwolf. Nyanwolf is an animator that was recommended for me to look into by a commenter known as Kitanopies. As I said in the last video, if there are any other animators that I haven't yet covered, comment their names down below and I'll be sure to look into them. For Nyanwolf though, their controversy has been breaking over the past several days, and it is one of the most debaucherous and perverted I have ever heard of. So for the vast majority of you guys watching this that don't know him, Nyanwolf is an animator with over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. And they were exposed a short while ago by a YouTuber known as Sharky Leo for having an alt account where they were caught liking pictures of furry fetish porn and feral porn. This account is confirmed to be Nyanwolf, given that firstly, its username is Lycan Slasher, which is a known alias of Nyanwolf, and because it posts art of Nyan's characters, and Nyanwolf's Instagram profile picture is art that was posted on the Lycan Slasher Blue Sky alt account, and when confronted within DMs, it was admitted. So this is Nyanwolf. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this might be wondering what the problem is, and please do allow me to get to it, because being a furry isn't a crime or anything. You're not gonna get arrested for coming out as a furry. There are known furries on YouTube. I think Pyrocynical is like confirmed a furry, and when he admitted it, it actually saved his career, it didn't ruin it. And that's where I have to tell the uninitiated the difference between furry porn and feral porn. Now, despite my username, foxakimbo, I am not a furry. I'm denying the allegations now, guys. I am not a furry. It just so happens that the name kind of sounds like it belongs to a furry. When I made it, I didn't think I would get this far. So it's not my forte, but to my understanding, the difference between furry and feral is that furry focuses on the mixture of human and animal features, I guess. So there might be, let's say, a fox, and the fox is like ripped. It has like, you know, six-pack abs and broad shoulders or whatever. Maybe it has boobs, for example. But you wouldn't see that in an actual fox. It's got anthropomorphic features. Whereas if you were into feral, it would straight up just be a fox. It would be on all fours. It wouldn't have human features whatsoever. It would just be a fox that's drawn in a weird way. And for critics of Nyanwolf, they're essentially calling them a zoophile, meaning that they are sexually attracted to animals. For example, and I can't believe I'm showing this is literally just a dog farting, but it was liked by Nyanwolf. There are no human features on this dog whatsoever. There is nowhere to hide. What about this image turns someone like Nyanwolf on? Because I struggle to find any way it's anything but because it looks like a dog. And because he has some sort of weird fart fetish. Upon confrontation, Nyanwolf claimed that they didn't know that this classed as feral porn, they just quickly liked it and didn't check. If you want to know more about the case, I'll link Sharky Leo's channel down below. Nyanwolf has since dismissed the zoophile claims, saying that they are purely allegations. Now, I'm not going to wield the hammer of justice and say that Nyanwolf is confirmed to be a zoophile, because I don't know for certain. But given the content that they have engaged in, with a lot of that being animals that are half naked, animals that are on leashes, animals farting, animals covered in blood, given the deviancy of this content, because this is straight up some like, you know, pretty niche and taboo stuff, I don't think it would be the furthest stretch of the imagination to say that they could be into literal animals or feral. Again, not confirmed, but it has been quite hard to find any new information on this because, as you might be able to expect, Nyanwolf has been on lockdown over the past several days. It seems like they've tried to scrub their Blue Sky account and they've limited comments on their content. So right now for Nyanwolf, it really doesn't look good. But we do have a bit of a conclusion to this story. This is recorded in post, so please do forgive the audio quality, but this morning, when I was going through Nyan's Twitter to grab some tweets, I saw that they did admit to liking NSFW kink drawings of fat Pokemon, and that arguably it was feral. However, they still persist that they are not a zoophile, and say that they were on a load of substances at the time. Whether or not you think this is just some lame excuse, or legitimate reasoning, I'll let you make up your own mind. In the last video, I spoke about the many sins of animation creators, ranging from money-hungry content farms to a creator that animated a suggestive clip of a certain underage Squid Game character. But if that video contains sins, this video contains war crimes, literal violations of the Geneva Convention, from desecrating the dead, to making gay gacha animations of the Holy Prophets, to faking cancer. And that's just one creator that we have today, and she's not even the worst. So welcome to this brand new limited series on the channel that I'm calling Animayhem, where I discuss the catastrophic controversies of the internet's animation community. This is the third installment of Animayhem. If you haven't seen parts 1 or 2, I'll link them down below in the video description for you to check out afterwards. With that said, let's dive into the first story. This is going to be the least extreme out of all of them. As the video progresses, each case is going to get worse and worse. Even still, this is highly illegal. If you don't know about it, allow me to introduce you to Blueygate. So we're starting off today not with one channel in particular, but instead with a weird animation rabbit hole that I somehow found myself down. That being weird Bluey knockoffs. In case you don't know it, Bluey is a very famous children's TV show, probably the most well-known these days, and it follows a family of 4 dogs in their daily lives. Parents have noted that the show is entertaining for them and is also informative and educational for the kids that watch it, leading to its immense success. However, as with basically everything that becomes a smash hit, there'll be some people out there with questionable morals that decide to leech off its fame in order to make money. And that's where channels such as Animation 4.0 and Lotus Animation Story come in. Because in early 2023, articles were written detailing that there had recently been an epidemic of fake knockoff Bluey channels that were making inappropriate videos. Both children and parents alike would think that these were Bluey episodes, they would click on them, and later would find out that they were not. These were at best extremely low quality slop videos, and at worst they contained themes and imagery that were inappropriate for child audiences. For any haters of woke that are in the house, you might be angry to find out that some of these videos contained a bit of a strange theme of the male Bluey characters getting pregnant. Of course, because these were of such low quality, they never outright said it because there was never any dialogue, but I don't think that Dad's saying that there's a ham and cheese sandwich in there. These bootleg videos provide no entertainment value, and maybe it's just me, but some of these thumbnails are very questionable. Some of them were straight up Elsagate levels of inappropriate, with syringes, dead characters, and pregnancies which I can't lie, smell a little bit fetishy to me. But even if you strip away all of the inappropriate content that these videos contained, what you're left with is a very obvious case of copyright infringement. Now, it's not the first thing that people are thinking of, and it's not the flashiest, sexiest thing to talk about here, but at the end of the day, this is very clearly them stealing the intellectual property of Bluey. Like, surely this is illegal. If the people behind these channels were going to be facing some sort of legal consequence, probably the easiest thing to get them on would be copyright infringement. From a legal perspective, this is very clearly stealing someone's intellectual property, and from a moral sense, the people behind these channels are very fine selling slop to children as long as it's making them money. These channels do not care about children and their educational development. They are very clearly just there to make money. So long story short, the entire thing was dubbed Blueygate and caused a very big ruckus in the community. Fortunately, it does appear as though most of these channels have since been terminated. That said, I was able to find one channel called Cool Cartoon that seems to maybe be using AI to add gore and violence into Bluey. I do not believe that this is in YouTube's guidelines, so I think I'm going to flag YouTube's attention on this. Honestly, it's quite sick to me that there are people out there that want to shock and scare toddlers and monetize it. Like, how would you even sleep at night if you were one of the people behind these channels? What lies would you have to tell yourself to rationalize it? Whatever it is, corrupting the youth is the least extreme thing that we have today. So now on to the second creator that we're going to discuss, and this one was banned a very long time ago. Her name was Shay Shay Gatcha. Now, Shay Shay Gatcha is a name that if you're a very, very devoted fan of the FoxAkimbo channel, you might somehow remember, because she's a content creator that I spoke about years ago within my video about terminated YouTube channels. You have to go back a very long time for this, all the way back to the summer of 2022. But if you didn't see that video, or understandably you did see it but you want a reminder, her story dates back to early 2021 when she made a video where she claimed that cancer didn't exist and that cancer patients are faking, which made some people quite mad. Shay Shay also claimed that Tourette's didn't exist and that the people that claimed they had it were also faking. I guess she had seen that episode of South Park where Cartman pretends to have it.
Butthole, titties, bows.
But Shay Shay, South Park is not based on real events. Joking about cancer or Tourette's online is only going to upset people because this is the internet. Of course it will. That said, I do think that this was bait. I do not believe there is a single person out there who believes that cancer is fake and is being genuinely serious about it. However, these claims were just the tip of the iceberg. And if she was trying to rage bait, what she said next was absolutely out of order. In late January 2021, Jacksepticeye announced that his father had passed away. In what can only be described as utterly disgusting and vile behaviour, a select number of individuals on the internet took the time out of their day to openly mock his passing, saying that he was burning in hell. They wouldn't have had any real reason to be saying these horrible things. But during one of the lowest moments of Jack's life, he was met with sneers and outrageous claims. There was even one guy that pulled a J station and made videos saying that he was contacting Jack's dad from the dead. Like, what possessed you to be so cruel? Who raised you, and where did it go wrong? Because clearly they did a bad job, and unfortunately, Shay Shay Gacha was one such person that made fun of Jack's father's passing. Shay Shay said that Jack's father was unloved, stupid, and irrelevant. The video is long gone from the internet by this point. I can't seem to find it anywhere, but there is a screenshot taken of this, and it shows that the video did exist. Jacksepticeye would actually acknowledge the harassment that his late father received, saying this.
To any of you who posted memes about it and posted negative stuff about it, you are absolute scum, and I fucking hate you because you made something that was hard so much harder to go through.
But if you thought that was the end, you would be wrong, because Shay Shay Gacha's very short-lived reign of terror would last a little while longer, and arguably it got even worse. For whatever twisted reason, Shay Shay then came out to defend MAPS. And if you've never come across this acronym before, MAPS stands for Minor Attracted Persons. It is a very polite way of saying pedo.
I'm getting the word nonce.
Once more, this could just be them trolling, but at this point, it's tough to tell. Mocking the very recently deceased isn't even trolling, it's just cruel. So if they're mentally warped enough to be mocking the recently deceased, who's to say if they're mentally warped enough to defend MAPS? In the end, Shay Shay's reign of terror would be quite short-lived. The channel would only survive 4 months, being founded in January 2021 and being terminated in May of that year. But Shay Shay is still remembered as one of the most infamous gacha content creators of all time. That said, I'm sure I can speak for everyone, but she won't be missed on the platform. And before you say it, I checked the r/animation subreddit, and apparently gacha content creators do count as animation. But before we move on to our next story, I'd just quickly like to say that if you're enjoying this right now, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we are very, very fastly approaching 200,000 subscribers. The last 2 videos did amazingly well, and if you want more Animayhem, the only way to tell me is to like it and subscribe if you haven't already. Also interact with me and let me know down in the comments what you think of this video, what you think of the creators I'm talking about, and if there are any others that you'd like to see in future content. You guys are absolute legends, so get active, get engaged, and if you guys want more Animayhem, then we'll do more Animayhem because I am absolutely loving the response that these videos are getting. So yeah, like, subscribe, and let me know down in the comments if we're gonna do a part 4, who should we cover next? And if I pick the creator that you suggested, then you're going to get a shout out, just like Joanna Aguelol, Bloodstar SV5, Mr. Mildly Concerned, Gold Talon 23, and Jacob124, who all recommended the next animator that we'll be discussing today, the infamous Bella the Wolf. So in case you don't know Bella the Wolf, she is a YouTuber and TikToker with a little more than 150,000 followers on both platforms combined. This is her YouTube channel, and let me let you in on a little secret, ladies and gentlemen. I was licking my lips when I saw this. I knew from the moment I laid eyes on her channel that it was a content goldmine. Like a wine connoisseur, I could detect notes of cringe, stupidity, and mental abnormality here. But just why is Mrs. The Wolf so infamous? Well, there are a few reasons, so let's go through them from least serious to most. Let's begin with religion. In one of her earliest videos, she animated famous religious figures Jesus and Allah kissing, and she said in the comments that Jesus and Allah are dating. To be honest, if you were to ask me, I'd say this is based. But based on the 55,000 dislikes that this video has received, I think it's fair to say that most people disagree. The comments of this video are filled up with a bunch of angry Muslims and Christians saying that the idea of Jesus and Allah kissing is disrespectful to their religion. Personally, I don't really have an opinion on this. I'm not going to be out there with the pitchforks and torches or anything. But that said, I do see why some people might be upset with it. Like, a lot of people don't like the idea of religious figures dating, or religious figures dating each other, or religious figures dating each other, but it's gay. That said, it gets worse. In another video, she animated a clip of her killing Jesus. Kind of interesting that she left other religious leaders out of that one, I'm just saying. Worse yet, just shy of a year ago, she uploaded a video titled, "I was diagnosed with cancer." And in that video, she stated that she had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. This is slightly ironic because she had previously stated that she didn't think that cancer was real. Kind of echoing everything that Shay Shay Gatcha was saying, but upon a reverse image search, it turned out that the photo that she used was not actually her whatsoever, she was faking. Speaking of cancer, after the extremely famous Minecraft creator Technoblade died of cancer, she made a short that many people found to be extremely disrespectful, and pinned a comment to the short claiming that he had groomed a minor. The thing you have to understand about someone like Bella is that they will do absolutely outrageous things like mocking religion, or making fun of the recently deceased, or even going as far as to call them groomers, just because it gives them insane engagement. There have even been times where she's been called out for her behaviour by content creators such as Ty Records Lol and Ryth, and she responds by including them in her animations. When she includes these people, usually something really bad's happening to them, and it causes their audience to go over and hate her, but this is exactly what she wants because she's gaining views, she's gaining engagement, and she's gaining new eyes. Given all of the content that's been made talking about her over the past couple of years, even a video like this is exactly what she wants. She wants to be at the center of discussion. She doesn't need to be liked, she just needs to be seen. And by me discussing this, I'm willingly walking into her web. But while most of this is just engagement farming, I think that sometimes she does absolutely horrendous things just for the love of the game. I kid you not, one time she apparently leaked the phone number of a 10-year-old boy in her Discord, which had more than 10,000 members.
Yesterday, some girl or some person who goes on the internet by Bella the Wolf put my son, and here he is, that's Miles, put Miles' number on a Discord server, said that it was hers, and told people to call. Since then, Miles has gotten over 500 text messages, over 200 phone calls and voicemails that we've had to deal with. So at this point, I am going to have to change Miles' number.
Just like Shay Shay before, I think she's gone way over the line with some of these. Doxing a 10-year-old to thousands of people is insanity, and according to Bella, this leak would get her arrested.
Hello everyone, Bella the Wolf is here. I know I haven't posted any videos for over 3 weeks, and there's a valid reason for that. For the last 3 weeks, I was in jail, and it's very horrible in here. The officers don't care at all that I'm a cancer patient. I'm in jail because of that kid's number I leaked, and someone spread false information that I'm an animal abuser.
To be honest, I struggle to believe her. When it comes to people like Bella, you have to take every word that comes out of their mouth with a pinch of salt. Someone that fakes cancer, spreads malicious rumours about the recently deceased, and doxes 10-year-old boys cannot be trusted. And anything that could be thought of in that twisted mind of hers is possible. As of the time I'm recording this, she's recently been quite quiet with uploads. Hopefully it stays like that, even though I very much doubt it. Regardless, she has one of the worst reputations on the internet. But despite all of that, the next creator that we'll be discussing probably has an even worse one. He's done well to outdo Bella because it's almost impossible, to be honest. This is the story of Notiv's cancellation. Notiv was a Roblox animator that gained a moderate but loyal audience over the years. His channel around the time of the controversy was very comparable in size to my own, with him having 177,000 subscribers in late September 2023. And this would have been after he had already lost some, because on the 2nd of September, a burner Twitter account made a post that would essentially end Notiv's career. It linked a Google Doc and wrote, "Coming out about at Notiv's username. He is a groomer and has manipulated many others in private. Below is a document detailing his actions." Lads and lasses, I swear down, this was one of the most comprehensive Google Docs I have ever seen. The damn thing has a table of contents, and throughout the 55 pages is armed to the teeth with screenshots detailing a long history of malpractice ranging from manipulation to grooming. First things first, let me state that these are allegations. I cannot prove for a definitive fact that Notiv did every single thing that he's accused of. I can only go based on the document. Also, let me say that I am by no means the first person to talk about this document. It has been well documented, for lack of better words, in the Roblox animation community. Secondly, if this is true, then it's really not a good look for Notiv. He is a Roblox animator. Think in your minds the sorts of people that might watch Roblox animations. 100% a large chunk of his audience were comprised of children and teenagers. Thirdly, I will not be able to discuss every single claim and allegation sheerly due to the size of this document. As I said, it is 55 pages long. It would take me till 2026, 7, 8, or 9 to detail every single thing that this document says. However, of course, I will give you the footnotes and the important details. So the first allegation that the document brings up was that this wasn't Notiv's first strike. He apparently had allegations levied against him a year prior for having a secret Roblox Rule 34 porn account. This man might think with his head, but certainly not his brain, so to speak. According to the doc, he would make an apology, which, if you want to read it, please pause now, but later he took it down. The document also confirmed that he has a corn addiction. And yes, I spent the last week of my life researching a Roblox animator's corn addiction. Oh, the things I do for you guys. We'll be diving deep into that very soon, don't you worry. To me, this isn't the be-all and end-all though. If you have a secret Rule 34 Roblox corn account leak, you know, it's not great, but you could at least come back from that. As long as you weren't intentionally posting it in a place where you think that minors would be present, then you should be fine. Regardless, he admitted to it. The document then goes more into his addiction, and I'm not going to linger on it for too long because in isolation, someone with an addiction is a victim too. It's just what they do and how they deal with things that might make that change. And for Notiv, there is an allegation that he uploaded a cropped image of a raccoon onto a Roblox shirt. And in the full image, I kid you not, the raccoon is apparently having a cheese grater shoved up its ass. Okay, that is where I draw the line, okay? I could forgive you for having a secret Rule 34 Roblox corn account. I could forgive you for that. But having a perverted little t-shirt where you have a drawn raccoon, have a cheese grater, man. A cheese grater shoved where the sun don't shine, hell no! You are not getting forgiven for that. You're not getting off easy, Notiv. You're not getting off easy. Like, yes, this man very clearly has a corn addiction and he is far down the rabbit hole because what the hell are you doing with a cheese grater up the arse fucking t-shirt? What is even going on, man? And I guess that's as good of a transition as any to move on to this next segment of the story. We're going to be discussing some fairly NSFW stuff right now, so if you don't feel comfortable hearing about it, then you can skip to the timestamp on screen right now. Content warning for grooming. To get more serious, the allegations then turned into real-life misdeeds, such as sending porn to a minor. This minor is known on the document as Blue. The minor had apparently only just turned 16 a few weeks ago, and Notiv, who went as Brody on Discord, was 18, soon to be 19 in a few weeks. Screenshots showed that they were aware of the age difference, but didn't care. It stated on the document that Notiv had joined a video call with Blue and had self-pleasured on camera, asking Blue to show himself on camera, but Blue refused. The document shows Blue discussing their relationship, and Blue claimed that Notiv would make NSFW Roblox animations of him and bought Blue some stockings to wear, likely as part of a fetish. Then comes the DMs between Notiv and Blue, and I very much considered leaving these out because I don't know if I can take it. For the sake of transparency though, I thought I'd include one. For context, this interaction takes place after Blue had just sent an image of himself with the stockings on, and here it is. drools, weird emoji, another image sent. Oh my god, I don't deserve this much. Notiv is then said to have screenshotted these images. Apparently the dotted circles indicate a screenshot, and then he admitted on Discord that he got off to it. Now don't get me wrong, I completely understand drooling at the sight of a femboy in stockings, but Notiv, we keep those sorts of things to ourselves. Otherwise, the next thing you know, some smarmy British pseudo-intellectual will find a screenshot of you admitting to it and include it in their video, telling the entire world your freaky little secret. Okay, that's the worst of it. The two's relationship deteriorated shortly afterwards, and Notiv apparently tried to erase any history of it, deleting previously sent messages. Blue eventually distances himself from Notiv, and according to the document, Notiv then turns his attention to two other people known as Red and Pink. The document goes on to allege that despite Notiv being very careful in making sure that his nudes weren't saved, he apparently saved Pink's to later use as leverage after pressuring her into sending them in the first place. The final few pages of the document show more instances of Notiv being manipulative towards several people, downplaying abuse and sexual trauma, trying to get people to cut off their friends, and overall, I guess trying to be this mastermind puppeteer. I mean, here's the thing. These are, at the end of the day, allegations. But the sheer amount of evidence here is insane. So you might be asking yourself, where is Notiv today? Well, according to a very reliable source, there has been an update in this case over the past couple of weeks. Since this is Wikitubia though, please do take it with a grain of salt, but it claims that Notiv's channel was deleted on the 11th of September this year. So literally like 2 weeks ago now. But given that it's been such a long time since these allegations went public, I have to imagine that this termination was self-inflicted rather than being done by YouTube. YouTube animators have some of the worst reputations on the internet, given that every 5 minutes it seems, one of them is being cancelled for doing something horrendous. From animators that are trying to stick their inflation fetish onto children, to a formerly beloved creator that's been accused of turning to the alt-right, in this video we'll be going through the absolute animaniacs that represent the community. If you're new to the channel, hello, this is part 4 of my Animayhem series. I've made 3 videos that are very similar to this in the past. They're going to be linked down in the description in case you want to check them out later. I might make small little references to previous episodes, but you don't need to watch them to understand what's going on here. Everything that might need to be explained will be in due time. With that said, we're going to kick this video off with an animator that you might already be aware of. He's an old relic of the niche who left the platform many moons ago. But he's recently made a return with a series of controversial videos. Allow me to remind you of Andre Turbia. So just to catch you guys up to speed, in case you don't know who he is or don't remember his name, this is Andre Turbia. Several years ago, he was one of the most popular animators on YouTube. To give him his flowers, he was doing something that not a lot of people were doing at the time, or even have done since, which was make content that fused animation with commentary. So for example, some of his most popular videos were related to KSI and Logan Paul back when they were boxing each other, or discussing why he hates family channels, or discussing James Charles, and so on and so forth. These videos were extremely clickable, with much of his most popular content reaching view counts in the millions, or even tens of millions in some cases. And on top of that, his videos were generally well liked, with Andre reaching almost 3 million subscribers, and with him creating a total of 75 videos that passed 1 million views. However, several years ago, his content started drastically slowing down. From there, his channel started growing cobwebs as people slowly began to forget about it. However, in late 2024, he would come back with a video discussing child rearing, revealing that he had 2 young children. People realised that their births lined up with when his content began slowing down, so in theory, he probably stopped in order to focus on family. The truth is, given the amount of views he's generated on the platform and the amount of revenue I estimate that he's made on here, he could probably retire if he wanted to and just live off savings and investments for the rest of his life if he's smart with it. Andre probably doesn't have anything to prove to anyone anymore. And after yet another lengthy hiatus, he would return to YouTube in September 2025 following the assassination of Charlie Kirk, with a series of videos that have been deemed quite controversial by a portion of his audience. Over the past few weeks, he's made commentary videos discussing topics on what's been deemed as a conservative perspective. So for example, he made content discussing why Emma Watson's interview on J.K. Rowling fell flat, or how Netflix has recently been prioritizing social messaging towards children over quality storytelling. And I'm going to play a clip from his J.K. Rowling video because it's important to this story later on. So this is a flavor of Andre's perspective.
And in June of 2020, J.K. Rowling published a long essay online basically saying she's worried about how fast-changing ideas on gender could mess with protections for women and girls, like safe spaces in bathrooms, sports, or shelters, drawing from her own real-life experience during her early rough times. Single mom, on welfare, domestic abuse survivor, someone who had seen shelters firsthand and understood all their ins and outs. To her, it was about shielding the vulnerable, the kids, who might get caught in the crossfire of policies that blur lines too much, too quickly. And if you've ever cracked open any Harry Potter book, you wouldn't be surprised that she held these beliefs. The entire story boils down to protecting the truth, protecting the vulnerable, and standing firm in what you believe.
But the reason I'm discussing him today is because of a video he made titled How I Became Alt-Right. And this video set off alarm bells within the YouTube and animation community. Within the r/YouTube drama subreddit, this was, as of the time I wrote the script for this video, the second most upvoted post made this month. So this is apparently big news. However, while that was the title, it wasn't the whole truth. The video wasn't him just unmasking himself and going, haha, I was alt-right the entire time. It was him responding to the allegations that he was alt-right. His argument was that he wasn't alt-right, he was actually just Romanian. I kid you not. You see, Andre was born and raised and lived in Romania, and for anyone that doesn't really know, Eastern Europe tends to be quite traditional. The problem lies in the fact that one country's left wing is another country's right wing. This is called the Overton window. So let's take the USA for example, okay? One thing that might be considered left wing in the USA, that very same thing might be considered right wing in, say, Norway or Sweden. He was arguing that he was just a traditional Romanian, and left wing liberals in the States were viewing him as some sort of alt-right Nazi. Biting back against the hate, this is what he had to say.
What also baffles me is the sheer arrogance of some of the more intense left-leaning people who commented on my previous video. Not all of them, just to be clear, but I'm talking about the type of people who get a sick pleasure from bullying creators into submission. And I bet they expected me to come out with an apology saying something like, oh, thank you for educating me. Please don't cancel me. And if that's the case, sorry. I'm not afraid of this hive mind mentality. I'm not afraid of being cancelled. I've cancelled myself by not even being active on YouTube these past few years. And it's the most liberating feeling to not be tied to any commitment, but instead to be able to say whatever I believe to be true. There is nothing you can do to me. Now, I do empathize with people who have followed my content for years, and because I never really spoke about my core values or political views, they may have gotten the wrong impression about what I stand for. And I will admit that at times the leftist propaganda on YouTube even got me fooled, and I may have regurgitated leftist talking points without even realizing it. But as I took a step back, I let all of that wash off of me. So to those who may feel betrayed, I respect your decision to unsubscribe if that's what you want to do. To be honest, I myself was surprised to see how different a portion of my audience sees things. I guess this goes to show how far people's perspectives can drift away when years pass and you don't really keep a steady connection to them. But I'm not even sure what exactly offends them other than the fact that I'm not a carbon copy of the influencers who pander to the leftist echo chamber ideology.
Once more, this video would see a lot of hate and pushback, specifically from people saying that the trans debate shouldn't even be up for discussion, and that trans people deserve respect and empathy regardless of their gender identity, given that they're human beings. Over the past week on Social Blade, Andre's subscriber count has been in freefall, but given that he's now uploading content on his terms, completely uncensored and unafraid by audience backlash, it's going to be very interesting to see where this goes from here. I have a sneaky feeling that something even more punchy and controversial is on the horizon for Andre, so I'm going to keep my eye on this one, and if something crazy happens, then I'll include him again in a future episode. But on to the next tale, we're soldiering on with quite a familiar story, that being an animation channel that is marketed towards children, but contains grossly inappropriate content. This is not the first time that we've covered channels like this. There was Shappy's Way in part 1, and then Rocky Raccoon in part 2, and who could forget the various Blueygate channels in part 3? But honestly, I can't lie, out of all of them, the channel that we'll be discussing right now might be considered the worst. And that channel is known as Teensy Crew. Now, first things first here. I know when you hear the name Teensy Crew, it sounds like this content must be made for teenagers. However, seeing the content that they animate, I think that's a bit of a stretch. Their content is marketed towards children, with them using meme characters that are popular with online kids. I don't think I need to go into any detail describing what's wrong with each of these thumbnails for their shorts. Some of them are showing straight up booty cheeks, or have balls covering female characters' chests. To be honest, showing anything here might get me demonetized. If this part is blurred, it means that I've had monetization issues with this video. But I'll put on screen now some of the less severe thumbnails for their shorts that I think I could potentially get away with. And I'm sorry, how is this allowed? In this short, you have Tung 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 Sahur, the Italian brain rot guy, quite literally wearing a pair of knickers on his face as a mask. Like, this is perverted shit. Ask yourself, who is watching this? Because it's definitely not Karen, the 35-year-old HR manager. It's kids! Scientists need to study this sort of thing, because my hypothesis is that your child could get dumber within 5 minutes of watching this utter slop. And I have a sneaky suspicion that whoever's behind this channel has some sort of pregnancy or maybe inflation kink. And the reason I think that is that a common thread seen amongst many of their videos is that the characters are often portrayed as pregnant or inflated. In one of their shorts, their most popular short in fact, it shows Thanos from Squid Game piercing Junhee's stomach, and then a bunch of water squirts out and a hand removes the baby. And I guess you could argue that this is meant to be some sort of satisfying content, but I'm doxing this again. I'm not buying it. I know that the people behind this channel know exactly what they're doing. But whether it's meant to be or not, Teensy Crew was able to garner tens of millions of views between late 2024 and early 2025. And while most of their growth has halted over the past few months, it still averages about 100,000 views a day. Whether YouTube actually does anything about it, we'll have to wait and see. And it's just crazy to me that after seeing everything I have, this is still relatively mild for me. If you've seen these videos before, you'll know that they generally get worse the longer the video goes on, and this is only our second story out of 4. But because we're halfway through these stories, I'd just quickly like to remind you that if you haven't already, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're very fastly approaching 200,000 subscribers. It would be an absolute dream to reach it before the end of the year. So yeah, like, subscribe, get active down in the comment section. Let me know if there's an animator that you'd like to see me cover next. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get to all of the comments so far. There are just so many weird animators still to get to in future episodes. I promise Birdie and Potimer and those kind of guys we will eventually get to. But in the meantime, I need a break from YouTube animators pushing their fetishes onto their audience. It's time for a unique story concerning the largest creator that we'll be discussing today, and is one of the most mind-boggling dramas that we've had in this series. This is the drama of Ethobot. In case you don't know Ethobot, this channel specializes in making Minecraft animations. Minecraft animations have been very popular on YouTube for a long time now, with many of Minecraft's most iconic videos being narratives told through this medium. And in the case of Ethobot, he's been able to garner 8 million subscribers throughout his online career. However, in early 2025, Ethobot would be caught up in a controversy with another very large channel known as Animal Mace, who makes very similar content. Animal Mace will come out on Twitter and at Team YouTube, stating that 3 of their videos had been unfairly taken down because Ethobot had been abusing the copyright system, also linking a document that we'll dive into. This document is an eternity long, so we won't be able to dive into everything, especially given that Animal Mace and Ethobot have quite a long history together. Animal Mace actually used to work for Ethobot, and within the document makes some allegations about Ethobot as a person. These allegations about Ethobot as a person, I'm not really going to dive into, at least not until a little bit later when there's extra evidence supporting the fact, because what could I even say about it? I don't know Ethobot as a person, and I can't just take Animal Mace's word for it. Discord screenshots prove that the two were, at a point in time, friends, but have since clearly fallen out pretty badly. The main topics that we'll discuss in this segment are copyrighted thumbnails and someone known as Emma. So first, with the copyright, these are the 3 thumbnails in question that got hit. On the left are the thumbnails that I imagine to be animal maces, and on the right, ethobots. It's no secret here that one creator was very clearly heavily inspired by another. Animal Mace stated that they didn't intend to copy per se, they just had different thumbnails tested, and the thumbnails that were the most similar to ethobots won, given that the two channels had a lot of audience overlap. As a YouTuber myself, I do think that this is a plausible excuse. Big channels do have the funds to make multiple thumbnails and test them, and if you're a fan of ethobots, it stands to reason that you would also be a fan of animal maces too. When it comes to plagiarism on YouTube, I completely understand being upset if you make something that is original and unique, and someone sees that, decide to basically copy it word for word or frame for frame or pixel for pixel, and then their copy outperforms your original idea. It happens all the time, but usually it's larger channels that do it to smaller ones, not smaller to larger. The line between inspiration and plagiarism can be a thin one, and it's also one that's undefined. Different people could judge it differently. But if you think that Animal Mace definitely plagiarized off Ethobot, and therefore Ethobot has a very credible leg to stand on, what I'm about to tell you might just change your mind. Because within the document, Animal Mace provided evidence that Ethobot had done the exact same thing to another content creator literally dozens of times over. On the left, here are thumbnails, the majority, if not all of which were created by Amphmau, who has 24 million subscribers. And on the right, ethobots. In fact, in quite a funny twist of fate, Animal Mace provided evidence that one of the thumbnails that they received a copyright complaint about was itself essentially copied from another creator. Now, if you were to ask me personally, I'm not really a fan of any of these. In Austin Kleon's book, Steal Like an Artist, he makes the claim that all art is essentially theft. Every creative has some sort of inspiration somewhere where they got the idea. But his point is that to steal from one person is plagiarism, but to steal from various different sources, taking a little bit from this and a little bit from that, that's what makes it a new, unique, and original idea. Every single one of these thumbnails, Animal Maces and Ethobots, seem to me to only be inspired by one. However, Ethobot was completely hypocritical sending out these copyright notices when his channel was guilty of the exact same thing. Animal Mace also alleged that Ethobot claimed that he was flattered that people would use his work as inspiration, so this would be contradicting that too. And we have a cringe warning here, by the way, because at one point Ethobot even got his mum to message associates of Animal Mace threatening legal action. I mean, this is where the drama gets kind of embarrassing, because what do you mean you're a grown-ass man and you're gonna get your mum to fight your battles? His mum sent a bunch of quite threatening messages saying that he had trademarked his videos, which isn't even a thing, and she came across as quite ill-informed about copyright law. Provided this is legitimate and the document isn't full of lies, I'm sorry, there are enough views to go round. Ethobot's channel was still at an all-time high in terms of views. He still averages millions a day. If this was really such a problem, Ethobot should have directly contacted Animal Mace and told him to stop, open up a line of dialogue. Of course, that would also mean that Ethobot himself would have to stop plagiarizing. But of course, the strange behavior doesn't stop there, and in fact, it might get even worse. At the start of this, I mentioned a girl called Emma. She was once a collaborator on Ethobot's channel, and when she was working for him, she was, dare I say it, a teenager. On the document, she claimed that when she worked for him, she was about 16 to 17 years old, and she came out with her own allegations about Ethobot, who she accused of some quite shady behavior. Firstly, she alleged that he was controlling towards her. In what some might call an abusive relationship, he apparently discouraged her from dating. In some instances, she apparently went unpaid too. So this guy, if it's true, is definitely stingy, and what Emma had to say about him definitely matches up to Animal Mace's personal anecdotes. Also, given her age and the fact that she was in high school, apparently the work hours were unfair. On this series, I have spoken about hiring teenagers before, and I just don't understand how these channels, who have millions of subscribers, could be so blind. If you've hired a teenager, someone whose main priority it is to get an education, you fit your schedule around them. It's not the other way around. Otherwise, you don't hire them in the first place. Actually, Ethobot allegedly told her multiple times that she's replaceable, which might have been another manipulation tactic that he employed to keep her on the hook. The document went on to describe the toxicity that Ethobot showed towards Emma when the two met up in real life. The two attended VidCon, and on the first day, she claimed to have met up with her friends instead of Ethobots, and his mother DM'd her saying that she wasn't going to pay for her hotel bills using her business card because she didn't spend enough time with him to classify it as a business expense. This is very strange for her to get caught up in, and it comes across again as financial abuse and a little bit exploitative. Between that and threatening to replace her and the controlling behavior that she alleges, I don't like the power dynamic that Ethobot and his mum have towards her. Also, am I the only one that thinks it's weird that he apparently cried in the bathroom after she told him that she wasn't going to be meeting up with him? Like, that's a little bit sus. Given the allegations made by this document, and again, they are allegations, I don't know Ethobot personally, but after all of these testimonies given by several different people, it seems as though he thinks he's Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, and his mum thinks that she's Olenna Tyrell, puppeteering everything that's going on. Like, you make Minecraft animations, it's not that deep. Like, there is no need, as probably a millionaire or maybe even multi-millionaire, to be exploiting teenage workers and not paying them a fair salary for the contributions that they make to your product. If what's been said in this document is true, his behavior and his mother's behavior towards the people that he interacted with is bullying, pure and simple. But from Minecraft animation to Roblox animation, there is some serious meat on the bone for this next one. This is the cancellation of Ribs. Now, Ribs is a bit of a special case because this is the very first time in the Animayhem series that we have a female groomer. What a great day for feminism this is. If you've seen previous episodes of Animayhem, then you might understand that this case has quite a few overlaps with the case of Notive. And just in case anyone wants to check out Notive's story after this one, it's in part 3. Now, the major similarities are that A, Ribs, just like Notive, was a Roblox animator. B, the age gap between herself and the person she pursued was roughly the same as Notive's. And C, just like Notive in the previous episode, a huge Google document was created, filled to the brim with screenshots, which attempt to make the case that Ribs' behavior was out of order and that what she did could have very well caused her to end up in prison. Now, this document isn't as comprehensive as the 55-page one made on Notive, but it still seems pretty damning, especially considering that faking all of these screenshots would take an incredibly long time. The document alleges that Ribs, born in 2004 and being roughly 19 years old at the time, attempted to pursue a sexual relationship with a 15-year-old male. Given that she was legally an adult and he wasn't of the age of consent yet, heavy criticism has come her way. In fact, the document alleges that the idea that he was obsessed with her was an aspect that she desired. Screenshots within this document show that the Roblox animator was aware that the user she was talking to was 15, and that she decided to seduce him because she was, in her words, bored and lonely, even going as far as sending him images of her body. The image sent is unknown, but given the context of this conversation, it appears as though she might have sent an image that was at best provocative and at worst nude. And given that the person she was talking to was 15, she may have sent a naked image to a minor. Let me clarify that this isn't confirmed, but it is a possibility. And some of the messages exchanged were straight up horn dog territory. In the span of just 3 minutes, the conversation went from Genshin Impact to things she wanted him to do to her, which if I spoke them into existence, this video would get sent straight to the Shadow Realm and I'd be like homeless Squidward shaking around a tin can of change.
Spare change, ma'am.
In the end, the pair's relationship was said to break down, and later he confronted her about it. Ribs, however, refused to take the blame. In fact, she said that part of the reason she was sorry was that she might get in trouble for it. And, well, eventually she did get in trouble for it after a tweet was posted to Twitter which linked the document and the alleged evidence. For all intents and purposes, that was the end of Ribs on the internet. Just like the Trunchbull, people started throwing rotten food at her, she went far, far away, and children everywhere were safe from that point onward. Her YouTube account, which had more than 600,000 subscribers, was terminated, and all that remains of her now are re-uploads of her old content. During her final days on YouTube, Ribs kind of went off the deep end, saying that everything was fake and telling people that she wanted them to die, so I doubt that Ribs will ever return to the internet. Then again, stranger things have happened. Online animators are freaks. I've said it time and time again, so let's dive into 3 more instances where online animators were exposed for straight up war crimes. Without further ado, it's time for part 5 of Animayhem, the series where I do a deep dive into exposed animators. We'll be talking false allegations, scams, and making NSFW content of the recently deceased. And first up to bat today, let's talk about an exposure that backfired. Let's talk about Hypercrystal. In case you don't know Hypercrystal, he made animation content in a BFDI style. BFDI, by the way, stands for Battle for Dream Island. Fans of BFDI are commonly known as the Object Show community, and in the Battle for Dream Island you have a bunch of inanimate objects such as pencils, golf balls and teardrops, all competing against each other to win, as you might guess, Dream Island. Over the years, this community has grown substantially, and today there are countless YouTubers making their own object shows inspired by BFDI, and 3 such creators that are relevant to the story we'll be telling today are Hypercrystal, Odyssey 10, and Miles Doodle Art. Hypercrystal, for one, was fast to gain a notable following, but that would all come crashing down in 2023 after he did something that would later become one of the biggest mistakes of his life. According to Hyper, he was told by Miles Doodle Art, his best friend at the time, that he was being groomed by Odyssey 10. Believing him implicitly, Hyper began writing all of the claims and accusations down into a Google Doc that he later published, using his fairly large platform to attempt to cancel Odyssey. What Hyper didn't know though was that much of what he was told was a lie, as Odyssey later came out with a response video debunking these claims with relative ease. For example, Hyper claimed that Odyssey had groomed Miles over VC, but Hyper was never part of these calls, nor were any parts of them recorded. Hyper also claimed that a message Odyssey had sent where he claimed that he hated his age was predatory, but that's not always the case. Odyssey, within his response, defended himself by saying that he felt as though for his age, he hadn't done much with his life. Now, Odyssey wasn't entirely blameless. He was 22 at the time and had a bit of a habit trauma dumping and publicly venting to minors, including Miles. That's not exactly appropriate, but as Odyssey said in his response, when people are having poor mental health, which he proved in his response by the way, logic isn't always at the forefront. This gets even worse though, because through DMs, Hypercrystal was quite rude and insulting towards him. He claimed that Odyssey was running away or ducking from the allegations, but when Odyssey and others tried to contact Hyper, he just wouldn't respond. And another problem with Hypercrystal's accusations was that he might have not known exactly what grooming was. As Odyssey brings up in his response, Hypercrystal knew that Odyssey was asexual. He's actually aromantic as well, so he wouldn't be grooming minors for sexual pleasure. Hypercrystal continued by making claims that he was grooming them non-sexually, but realistically, if you're using these words, you need to be very careful, because when people hear words such as grooming, they automatically think that you mean pedo. After Odyssey's response, it was clear that Hyper had severely misinterpreted things, perhaps even maliciously, given that he wouldn't respond to anyone that was asking to speak to him. Following this, the tide would turn as more and more people were made aware that Hypercrystal's claims were untrue, leading to severe backlash on Hyper's part. Hypercrystal would announce that he was going to retire his channel, which in fairness was taken quite well by his audience. People were sending him heartfelt goodbyes. However, after a long hiatus, he would make a return to the platform within a video titled Taking Accountability, in which he'd come clean about how things went down from his perspective. This is a flavour of what he had to say.
Going forward, I vow to never speak on something this serious without understanding it ever again, and to be more careful, more thoughtful, and more responsible with how I use my platform. And that responsibility carries over to the way I treat people. I'm genuinely ashamed of the person I was back then. I was extremely rude and inconsiderate, and I prioritized my own self-image over treating people with basic respect. I'm deeply sorry to anyone who was affected by this, as you most definitely didn't deserve it, and I'm hoping to be able to personally apologize to anyone affected. I don't expect forgiveness, and I don't want to garner any sympathy. I know this long overdue apology doesn't undo what I did, and it doesn't erase the pain I caused, but I want this to mark a turning point for me. I'm done hiding from my mistakes or trying to outrun them. From here on, I'm choosing to put in the work to actually be better.
Now, here's the thing. What Hypercrystal did was obviously wrong. Making false allegations about a person is a huge deal and is hugely problematic. However, I'm not going to go too hard in on Hypercrystal because, firstly, his response video was probably one of the better ones that I've ever seen. He doesn't really show any ego, he doesn't try to defend himself, he very plainly admits that what he did was a huge mistake. I can respect someone that does live up to their critique and doesn't try to pass the blame off to someone or something else. And on top of that, little did many of his fans know, but Hypercrystal, as of the time he made the allegations, was only 15 years old. Odyssey was clearly the victim here, but maybe Hypercrystal was too in a way. If Miles was telling him outright lies, if he was manipulating him or coercing him into doing his bidding, I can see how a gung-ho, naive 15-year-old might hear of an injustice involving his friend and try to throw his weight around in order to make things right. Especially given that there's a rumor that Miles was actually the one grooming Hypercrystal. That said, I don't want to delve too much into that claim because I only saw the one accusation during my research. So you might be wondering, what happened next? His response video was taken relatively well, all things considered, with a largely positive like-to-dislike ratio, and his videos since, while not exactly reaching the heights of his pre-controversy numbers, are still raking in view counts in the tens or even hundreds of thousands. He made it clear that he was not forgiven by Odyssey, and that he didn't care for anyone else's opinion, given that it's not really on them to forgive or not forgive. If I was Odyssey, yeah, I could definitely see why he wouldn't want to forgive someone for saying all of that. But I do want to say that I'm glad that Odyssey was able to prove his innocence, and I hope this is a reminder for people if they're going to accuse someone of doing horrific things, they need to have the facts correct first. But with Hypercrystal's story now told, I say this all the time, but if you're enjoying yourself right now, then please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And also make sure to stay engaged down in the comment section. What do you think of that story? Do you disagree with me? Do you think that Hypercrystal should have been exiled from the internet? Let me know your thoughts on that situation, as well as the ones we have coming up. But if you're on the fence about liking and subscribing, I'll let the rest of this video speak for itself. With that said, for our next animator, he's one that let his ambition become his downfall. A single video ruined his credibility and potentially his entire career. This is Gibthom. Now, in case you don't know him, Gibthom is an animator that blew up in mid-2024. And when I say blew up, I mean blew up. I have never seen such a gargantuan spike in growth. Dude went from gaining 2,000 subscribers in March 2024 to 600,000 in July 2024. That's more than triple my sub count, and he did it all in 31 days. Now, you would hope that he would take advantage of this fantastic opportunity placed right at his fingertips, that he would cultivate a loyal audience that would keep coming back, that he would thank them for changing his life, and he scammed them. What? Yeah, he was plugging a crypto coin. Poof. So over the past several years, the internet has seen many content creators promote crypto coins to their audience. And in July 2025, we saw another creator, one that was perhaps a little bit late to the party, jump in with their own cryptocurrency controversy. And that creator was Gibthom. By all accounts, I don't think his animations were that bad, and high quality animations on YouTube can garner an audience very, very quickly. But how, my friend, do you cash all of that in for a crypto coin scheme? Like, this man had the world handed to him on a silver platter, and he still managed to mess it up. So without further ado, I'm gonna play you a short clip from this now unlisted announcement video titled The Bitcoin Project, so we can see just how this played out.
Gib, look at this! Someone just sent me a full Bitcoin!
Whoa, what the? Me too? Wait, it's not a Bitcoin, it's Bipcoin? Did you make a cryptocurrency?
Well, cryptocurrency, it's basically like it has a value, and when you have it inside of the economy with validity, with the blockchain, and it's secure, and I don't really know what it is.
Now, I don't think I need to tell you guys that when it comes to creator-pushed crypto coins, they are by and large shilled out by snake oil salesmen that are just looking to make a quick buck. They're being paid gross amounts of money by crypto coin companies to essentially scam you. There's an old saying, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. If it seems like a scam, it probably is. Audiences would see right through his scheme, and the video received 8.4 thousand dislikes compared to only 3.7 thousand likes. The comments are filled to the brim with people expressing that one of their favorite YouTubers is now a scammer, and they wish this wasn't real, but alas, this video was very real. We would hear a little bit of insight from Gibthom within a follow-up called Gibthom Chest Speed Draw / rant about how I ruined my life as an artist. This video has also since been unlisted, but within it, Gibthom describes the events from his perspective. Now in total, he discusses this for about 10 to 15 minutes, so I'm going to play you guys a few different clips from the video so you can get a flavour of what he had to say. This won't be the entire thing, but you should get the gist.
And I get a call, this guy's like, hey, do you want to do a coin thing? And I'm like, well, heck no. I don't say that, but I keep thinking that in the back of my mind. And then this guy approaches, we'll call him my manager, and then my manager's like, oh yeah, you gotta do this. This is a good opportunity. We gotta make a coin. This is like, of course we gotta do this. And I mean, at the time I was like, well, I guess some people have had a lot of success with Bitcoin. I didn't know hardly anything about the space other than, Logan Paul did his Dink Doink coin, and that was sketchy, and so I was kind of afraid of it. But then the way they talked about it kind of made me think, okay, well, I mean, I guess I can get behind this, maybe. I can trust this. And I kind of just became a yes man while this was happening in the background. Like, I just wanted to make videos. I was like, okay, sure, yeah, this is going to be a nice addition to the channel. If it does well, maybe. I mean, come on, like, put yourself in my shoes. The channel was doing so well, it gave my brother a job. I was doing just perfectly financially. I was doing great, and we was thinking about all these branding things we could do, merchandise, allegedly working on a plushie, and then, I don't know, a friend of ours came to us, says, hey, this is also a thing you could do. I know you're branching out and doing all this stuff because of that coin. And a part of the argument that sold me was the idea that if I was to be on the team of the people who made the coin that did well of BIP, would I rather some random dude be the guy to make the BIP coin? Like, no, I guess. If we ever expect to get bigger, someone's going to do it eventually. Might as well be us. And I guess Trump was doing deregulation on all these coins, crypto coins and things. It just sounded like all these things were happening all at this time, and it sounded like, of all times to do a crypto coin, now would be the best, is what they were kind of approaching me with. And so, okay, listen, I was in this position where it was really hard to say no, and when I did say no, everyone's like, well, don't think that way, you gotta be positive, gotta do this. Like, come on, these guys are, doing this thing with us, they want what's best for us, and in the process, what's best for them. Like, come on, why are you being such a jerk and saying no? Like, you have this whole channel, you grew all this, at least use it to help the people around you, come on. And I'm like, well, I'm skeptical, but then my manager's like, no, this is clearly a good idea, and if this guy's approaching us, yes, you gotta do it. I was legitimately expecting a lot of people from the crypto world to see our channel, and we was kind of promised, another 2-3 million subscribers from crypto people, which that was a bit of a stretch in hindsight. Like, okay, just because if we did a coin, like, but let's be honest, okay, anybody owning a channel in this day and age who is approached by anyone and that says, you can gain another 3 million subscribers if you just do this little deal, they're considerate at least.
So all in all, he blames his management for going behind his back, the crypto team for approaching him in the first place, and himself for being an idiot. To be honest, as a fellow creator, I have to give him some flack for this. Firstly, I don't know where he's getting this 3 million subscriber figure from, unless he was promised by the crypto team that they were going to artificially pump his sub count up. It makes no sense. There's no way that you could guarantee that you're going to gain 3 million subscribers. It's an arbitrary number. And if I've learned one thing on YouTube, it's that sub counts are not a guarantee. Any creator knows this. Maybe they told him that they were going to sub bot for him, but even then, it makes no sense. It doesn't matter. Sub count is vanity and vanity alone. If you're a content creator, you get paid through views. Sub count might legitimize you, it might give you clout and status. Companies might see that and, be more likely to sponsor you, but it doesn't actually do anything outside of that. Secondly, I think his head was definitely turned by the money offered. It's no secret that on the internet, sponsorship offers can be extremely lucrative. A channel that averages 1 million views per video could potentially be receiving 5 figures for a single integration, let alone a cryptocurrency that has an entire video dedicated to it and has the channel's icon on the token. And thirdly, At the end of the day, it was you that said yes. Your management might want you to do it because they're going to get some of the commission. Obviously, the crypto coin place wants you to do it because they approached you in the first place, but as the creator, you have the final say in anything you do or don't promote on the channel. Promoting something that later turns out as a scam, it makes it difficult for audiences to trust you. But very quickly, I want to turn your attention to potentially a bit of hypocrisy in his video, because he makes the claim that he still believes the crypto team had his audience's best interests at heart.
We wish them luck. We do think they're genuinely good people, but we're not a part of it because of all the backlash and all the hate that it's going to throw at us.
But he also makes the claim that he felt as though he was pressured into it by his management and the crypto team.
I'm sorry if it sounds selfish that I don't want to have a video up on my channel, which people are going to look at and immediately hate me for, but you gotta give me a little space, at least with something like this, okay?
I feel like the crypto team, if they genuinely did have people's best interests at heart, would be quite understanding that given the reputation of cryptocurrency on the internet, that a creator might not want to associate with it. And when it comes to his manager, based on what he's saying, they seem inept at best and slimy at worst, because they have entirely torpedoed his career and reputation. His long-term sponsorships probably would have outperformed what he made in the short term. To allegedly go behind his back and agree to this deal is just awful business. The video continues, and he revealed that he cut ties with the company altogether and implies that he might have given all the money back.
At least I was able to get the video down and discontinue working together, at very least, okay? And that is miles better than just letting it all happen and just, you know, slowly but surely losing all the personality in my channel. And it's just suddenly this corporate flipping bullcrap.
Today, Bitcoin is, to my best estimate, trading at $0.00. The final tweet about it read, "Markets are bleeding pretty bad, we're still here holding." Well, I hope that they're still holding, because that was the final tweet Bitcoin ever posted. And in the replies to this, I found an image. I don't know if it's legit, I hope it's not, but I thought I'd share it anyway because it's quite funny. It's a puppet, I kind of recognize this puppet, wearing a nappy with a pencil up its nose, tweeted by the Bitcoin project and captioned, "Hey F-slurs, here's the token address to Bitcoin." I'm not sure if this is legit or if it's faked. I hope it's faked. But what the hell am I even looking at? Towards the end of the video, Gibthom laments on his situation.
It's just so brutally sad that our amazing channel that was doing so well, and flippin' wannabe YouTube kid, Animator, was growing and was doing well, and then we was approached by these people, and it just looks like we will never be viewed the same way ever again. There's an amount of people that will hate us from this point to the rest of their lives. There's nothing we could do about that. And that sucks. And that hurts to the core of everything I stand for. Artistic integrity, not being a sellout, wanting to make something that people will resonate with, all out the window, because I was a part of a crypto thing.
And I think he's right. His channel will never be seen the same again. His long-form videos, released after the controversy, received much lower view counts than his pre-controversy content, and he hasn't posted a long-form video in 7 months. Having heard this, what do you guys think? Do you have any morsel of sympathy for him? Do you think that he's lying? Do you think that he's trying to cover up for his exposure? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But let this be a lesson to any aspiring creator: don't go too hard chasing the almighty dollar, because sometimes your ambition can ruin your career in a heartbeat. They say money is the root of all evil. I say it's PNG tubers. And our next story is a prime example of that. She might not look like the spawn of Satan, but you guys have to believe me when I say that this kawaii waifu cat girl is a she-demon, and her name is Meowba. Over the years, Meowba has developed quite the reputation on YouTube, with an extensive rap sheet of controversies that she's been accused of. So first things first, when it comes to Meowba, it would be tough to talk about her without going into her controversies surrounding race, slurs, and identity. And to be honest, when it comes to this, I don't even know where to start, because Meowba has said basically every word under the sun. She's previously said the R word, related to the disabled.
Reading Meow's TikTok comments. Meow, can you say this kawaii word? Okay, word.
In one short, she cut herself off before saying the F slur, and in one video pretended to come out as transgender.
Reading Meow's Discord questions, part 15. Is Meowbot trans? Happy Pride Month. Meow is transgender. Meow hopes you all support.
But Meowba hasn't just pretended to be trans, she's also pretended to be both Muslim and black, which we'll get back to in a moment. In the meantime, let's dig more into her Islamic era. Meowba has also gone on record saying that she could beat up Allah, the god of the Islamic faith. And she's done a few things that have angered Muslims. For example, she drew an NSFW picture of herself in the hijab. In fact, she had quite a bit of a story arc wearing the hijab, which many people thought was trying to mock the faith. To be honest, that's a tame drawing for her standards. We'll be getting into her other drawings later in the video. If you're interested, Meowba's religion is her own. She's a Meowist preaching Meowism to her followers. Many have argued that she's running a cult, because you have to pray to Meowba to be a Meowist. And that means that any Meowists that find this might be mad at me for critiquing their deity, so I need to be very careful in what I say next. In the meantime though, outside of her Muslim era, she also had an era where she was, black. I don't know if this counts as virtual blackface, I don't know if it counts as straight up blackface, I don't even know if I should be the one telling this, but what the hell? She's also come under fire for faking her own side, like the time she made a response video to a controversy that we'll get into in just a moment. In this, she claimed to have bipolar and dissociated identity disorder. The video has some more classic Meowba ramblings, and the ending implied that Meowba might kill herself. She uses language like saying she's going to Meowven to pay for humanity's sins, and it appears as though she's on top of a tall building looking down. As you probably won't be surprised to hear, Meowba did not seppuku. She's still around to this very day, and would go on to commit several more atrocities, which we'll get into in just a moment. And if you know the sins of Meowba, you'll know what's about to come. That takes me to the Technoblade post. On the 30th of July 2022, Meowba made a post to her Twitter plugging her Patreon. The post contained a censored drawing, and the drawing depicted Meowba's character straddling a dead Technoblade in his casket. Keep in mind that Technoblade died on the 30th of June 2022, so this was posted a mere month after his passing. As you might expect, responses to this post were volatile to say the least. Many people deem this as utterly repulsive and entirely disrespectful. I've spoken about people's reactions to Technoblade's passing quite a lot recently, just by chance. But it's crazy to me that people just wouldn't let him rest. And yet, because he was a famous Minecraft YouTuber, people felt the right to make light of the situation, to try and make a quick buck from it, or to try and plug their Patreons. Worse yet, in June 2024, the account posted an image of a Technoblade plushie in straight up pink BDSM gear. I was able to find another video of this person straddling the plush. This was posted 2 years after his passing, almost to the day. I just ask, why can't people let this young man rest? And speaking of young men, let's talk about something she did to another young man. A very young man, in fact. If you thought she couldn't get any worse, listen to this. On the 14th of October 2022, she would post yet another censored image to her Twitter, once more plugging her Patreon. She captioned it, "Turning Tommy into Meow's little submissive femboy. He likes it." And while for very obvious reasons I can't show this image, I can tell you that it depicts Tommy tied up and on a leash. I should mention that by October 2022, Tommy would have been 18 years old. I think he turned 18 in April of that year. But I think it's fair to say that drawing kinky NSFW artwork of anyone that's 18 is going to raise some red flags and draw some critique. So after being made aware of the fact that Meowba made NSFW artwork of an 18-year-old and a dead person, you might be wondering to yourself, what other depravities are kept in the Meowba Patreon? Well, I decided that I would take a look for myself. Let me clarify right now, and lock me away if you must, I did not pay to access her Patreon. I was, however, able to find the bulk of these images online, don't ask me how, and I'm a changed man now. My reaction to this was the exact same as Steve Buscemi's from Spy Kids 2.
Do you think God stays in heaven because He too lives in fear of what he's created?
I saw her straddling queso. I saw NSFW drawings of Gypsy Rose. I even saw an NSFW drawing of Jellybean's avatar because Jellybean had just turned 18 a day or two before. Apparently that gave Meowba the right to make this grotesque drawing of this PNG tuber, and the two had some sort of weird rivalry, so to get one over on Jellybean, she drew an absolute monstrosity. There was an NSFW drawing involving Rambo, who's another Minecraft YouTuber, and while I wasn't able to find an archive of this one, according to the title of one of her latest posts, she's also recently made a drawing involving Charlie Kirk. And given that Mr. Kirk only died a few weeks ago, that means that Meowba is still up to her old tricks, even years down the line. Now, after all of that, after everything I've shown you, I have to admit that Meowba is bait. Anytime someone clicks on her stuff to see what kind of crazy thing she's done now, anytime someone leaves hate comments on her videos, anytime content like this is made, it fuels her business practice. Just like with Bella the Wolf, she wants to be controversial. She wants to get people talking about her. She is a master of the craft, it has to be said. Meowba can insult deities, she can make NSFW artwork of the deceased, she can do virtual blackface, and she gets away with it. Not only that, she gets paid for it. The more over the line she goes, the more people that will discuss it, and therefore, the more revenue that she makes. So as long as she doesn't go too over the line and get banned, I can see her doing this for a long time to come. I'm certain that this won't be the last we see of her. A once successful science channel has sold its soul, and now it's silencing all critics. If you were a child of the 2010s, you might recognize Ormsom's channel. This channel was made 11 years ago, and as you might notice, they made animations for children's science content. This gave them a huge viewership, with the channel surpassing 2 billion views in total. Now, I can't lie, I don't know if this channel was ever the best resource for learning. Having looked over its content, a lot of it was all flash and little substance. Some of the science questions they were answering were quite strange. Like, what if we were made out of chocolate? Or what if the sun was made out of chocolate? Or what if trees were made out of chocolate? But they'd also ask a lot of good questions, such as why can't dogs eat chocolate? But given that this channel was made for children, I do understand why strange questions were asked. At the end of the day, as long as the information they're sharing is true and informative, I don't have a problem with it. In fact, these video topics might be for the best. Children interested in science should be asking strange questions, trying to learn about how the world works, even if, in the grand scheme of things, some of the questions they're answering are fairly trivial. However, over the years, there was slowly but surely a degradation in the quality of their content. Let's take a look at a recent video and then compare it to an old one made on the same topic.
Why does our stomach growl?
Because there are bears in our stomach.
Nah. Growling sound is produced mostly due to movement of gas in the digestive tract.
Notice the attention to detail, the passion that comes across in this short clip. And now let's look at a recent upload.
Omsom was sitting quietly on a bench when suddenly a strange sound echoed from his belly.
Huh?
Shocked, he wondered, why does our stomach growl?
Okay, so it's no secret that today, this education channel is completely and utterly AI powered. It has an AI voice, the animations are AI, the thumbnails are AI, and I would therefore assume that the information might have been AI generated. Now, I don't want to sound like some of the teachers that I had growing up, and I'm sure many of you guys would have had too, which make Wikipedia out to be some sort of hellscape full of false information and hoaxes. But AI can sometimes be that. It's not always factually correct. ChatGPT even clarifies that on its page. Sometimes simple questions that could easily be answered by your young child are answered wrong by AI. Call me an old man yelling at cloud all you want, but I don't think that we should be educating the next generation with ones and zeros. And even then, some of the videos that Ormsom have been putting out recently are not educational in the slightest. They are pure brain rot.
Ormsom wakes up smiling and suddenly feels his body puffing up like a balloon. His blanket slips away, landing in a heap on the floor. A scared spider dangles nearby, swaying with the movement of the air. Ormsom waves gently at it, sending it swinging like on a ride.
To be fair, this notion of not letting AI educate your children does seem to be fairly commonplace throughout the internet. Ormsom's recent videos have had absolutely disastrous like-to-dislike ratios, sometimes even less than 10% of likes compared to dislikes. As I brought up in my recent video about exposing AI channels which discuss animation, I think that it's interesting that the comments here are turned off. It's almost like they don't want people knowing that it's AI. And you can definitely tell that this has been coming for a while. There have been reports that they've been including AI for more than a year now, and over the past several months, it's just gotten worse. I've spoken about AI channel takeovers before, see my video on the JCS incident if you're curious about it, which I'll link in the description, but I suspect that this channel wasn't a channel for sale. I think that the people that own this now are still the original owners. And the reason I think this is that you'll notice on the channel, the transition to AI is quite gradual, very slowly changing over time. Most AI content farms that I've seen don't really care to transition in. They care about immediate results and therefore just change immediately overnight. I understand that at the end of the day, the goal of a YouTube channel is to make money. But ask yourself this, if there was a small team behind this channel before, would its turn to AI essentially get everyone laid off? I mean, think about it. The channel has completely and utterly turned to AI. There is no more room for thumbnail designers, narrators, researchers, or animators anymore. This is just speculation, but this is how I see it, okay? Based on the view count that this channel has received over the years, billions of views, the person behind it will undeniably be extremely rich, and they've then gone to try and expand their wealth by cutting costs, firing staff who made the channel what it was in the first place so that they can outsource it to AI. I mean, am I missing something here? Those jobs are now no longer needed. You don't need thumbnail designers if you're AI generating them. You don't need script writers and researchers if you're AI generating the script. You don't need animators if you're AI generating the animation, and the narrator is also now replaced with AI. Those people are fired. They've cut costs, and I anticipate fired people just so they can serve up some slop educational content, and I use that word very loosely, ladies and gents, to children that just want to learn. It's a shame too, because why even change? Their videos were doing well. They'd always gain hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. And now some of them can't even hit 50K. They've been exposed as an AI channel, and winning back the trust from their audience, I feel will be near impossible. But Ormsom is just the first channel that we'll be discussing today, and between me and you, they are by far the tamest. I kid you not, ladies and gents, we are now 6 episodes into the Animayhem series, the series where I cover exposed animation channels. And each one seems to get worse than the last. And this video is no exception. So still to come today, we have fetish channels galore, which make me, a boy that was raised Catholic, question my belief in a deity. You've seen the thumbnail. I can confirm that we're going to get into some freaky ass stuff. But I need to mentally prepare myself first, so let's warm up with something a little bit different. What happens when a YouTube animator gets exposed for drawing a racist caricature? Okay, this is a deep cut if I've ever had one on the Animayhem series. The animation that we're about to discuss comes from a channel called Marbad13. It has less than 300,000 total channel views, less than 2,000 subscribers, and 19 uploads split between 8 long form and 11 short form videos. They also have a slightly larger following on Instagram and an even larger one on TikTok. With such a modest fan base, at least on YouTube, you're probably wondering to yourself, what is it that he could have possibly done to end up in an Animayhem video? Well, before I tell you, please let me add a disclaimer. The animation that I'm about to show you may be deemed as racist or offensive, specifically to the East Asian and Chinese community. By showing it, I'm not trying to promote it. In fact, I'm openly criticizing it. With that said, without me telling you what it is, let me show you. So Marbad decided to use their free will to make an animation where Homer is turned into a stereotypical racist Chinese caricature. Now, if I'm not mistaken in saying, Marbad is not the first person to create this Chinese Homer character. given that the animations on his channel did tend to differ quite severely in style, I theorized that maybe he had stolen this video. So I tried to follow up on things by researching Chinese Homer, which was when I found a video by a channel called Chocolate Cake, which has almost 5 million views. This video is entirely in Spanish, and it depicts Homer saying that he's Chinese Homer. Barney asks him to grab a beer, but Homer says no because he's Chinese Homer.
Homero, vamos a tomar una cerveza. No puedo, Barney, porque en China no tomamos cerveza.
To be honest, I think this video is hard to grasp, but I also think that that's by design. Maybe any Spanish speakers who have seen the video will know better, they might know why this is more popular, but I think that if we look back to the memes that were popular back in 2018, I think that that might explain some of the humor that we're seeing here. Regardless, for Marbad to make an animation with this racist caricature would see him get a little bit of backlash on r/YouTube drama. But to my surprise, people on TikTok seemed more interested in the fact that he included Sonichu on this color wheel than a literal racist stereotype staring them right in the face. I mean, am I just being a snowflake for this? I don't know what you guys think, so let me know down in the comments. Speak your mind. I'm not usually the type of person to get offended on other people's behalf, but I don't feel as though Asians are gonna see that video and be very happy with Marbad. And considering that this video on TikTok racked up 11 million views, I felt as though I had to mention it here. But very quickly, before we move on to the third story of this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I am absolutely loving the Animayhem series. As long as it still gets support from you guys, I will carry it on. So liking, subscribing, commenting down below, and just engaging with this video helps it in the algorithm. It shows your support, and yeah, it would be very much appreciated. But if I haven't yet proven why you should like and subscribe, then let me make the rest of this video do the talking for me. Because from here on out, things are only going up in terms of your satisfaction and down in terms of my mental state. Let's get on to Genzox. Now this next one comes courtesy of you guys. Specifically, it comes from Pink K's, who commented on my AI exposed video, recommending that I take a look at a channel called Genzox for a future video. Remember guys, if you know of a sus animation channel, then let me know its name down in the comment section below and I will look into it. I read every single comment I get. And if I include it in a video, then you'll get a massive shout out, just like Pink K's. Now, Pink K's claimed that the channel showed cartoon fetishes and inappropriate subjects disguised as children's cartoons. So I took a look at the channel, and upon review, Pink K's isn't wrong. The channel has more than 600,000 subscribers and is filled to the brim with cartoons that some people watching will undeniably be using as material, let's just say. Just by looking at the thumbnails of a few of its most popular videos, I can easily identify several fetishes on display. Women here are displayed with huge mummy milkers. They're often being restrained or dominated by venom, and in one of the thumbnails, it even has an ahegao face in the background. One of them also seems to depict her as heavily pregnant, which is definitely appealing to the inflation gooners, who we will get back to later on in the video. And yes, that is a threat. But clicking on these thumbnails and looking at the videos inside them, they are just as bad. Honestly, this is some of the most brain-rotted animation I have ever seen, and worse yet, it is literally softcore porn. I have no idea who's gooning to Venom sticking his tongue down the throats of blondes with literal Z-cut boobs, but given the insane view counts on these videos, I have to imagine a lot of people are.
And so will you! And you! And you.
And I think what I say next might just prove that point. Now, I couldn't tell you what the average is on YouTube for a view to comment ratio, but I did a bit of quick math and found that for my last 7 videos, I generated 1,003,000 views and just a little bit over 5,000 comments, meaning that I averaged 1 comment every 195 views. Now, to be honest, that doesn't sound like a lot. As I said, I don't know the average, so it could be on the high end, or to be honest, it could be on the low. But I'll tell you one thing I do know, it could be a lot lower. When it came to Genzok's past 7 videos, as of the time I did the maths, they had generated 1,005,000 views, so basically the exact same as me. However, going through every single video's comment section, I noticed they are barren. In all 7 videos combined with over 1 million views, they only had 105 comments, meaning that on Genzox's content, they received 1 comment for every 9,570 views. Gee willikers, I wonder what people are doing instead of commenting. This channel is a bit of an enigma to me. I don't know why comments are so rare, and so I decided to do a bit of digging, because I felt as though I could find something that would give me the truth. But then I found something that might have raised more questions than it answered. I discovered that Genzok had a second channel, a gaming channel called Stream on Deck. And while upon first glance it looks normal enough, once you start noticing its oddities, it's tough to go back. Videos like him using the camera to zoom in on the midriff of a character in Pokemon was curious. Him titling a video, "This cake made me buy a Nintendo Switch 2, Pokemon ZA," was even more suspicious. And going back even further, there are video thumbnails that are straight up characters from video games in bikinis or very revealing clothing. There's even one thumbnail on this channel where a character has a mysterious liquid on her face. But for obvious reasons, I won't be showing it to you because that would most certainly get this video on a one-way trip to the Shadow Realm. This is to say that whoever's behind these channels is a straight up gooner. I mean, if you couldn't tell from the redonkulous racks he gives his characters, this art style is definitely intentional. Now I will say this, I don't think that Genzox is intentionally trying to masquerade as some sort of kids YouTube channel like we have seen in the past. While yes, he does include some characters from children's media, just a look at these thumbnails will tell you everything you need to know about what's inside. But while these animations might not be targeted towards children, it doesn't change the fact that what happens in them is absolutely repulsive. In several of these videos, it depicts female characters that are captured, be straight up essayed, or raped. These videos aren't explicit. If anything happens, it's usually mosaicked over so you can't actually see anything, but it is implied. And what I found out next made me drop my jaw, because I would think that a channel that makes animated essay videos would probably be on the brink of termination, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Not only are their videos not age restricted, they're actually monetized. YouTube is monetizing animated essay videos in front of our very eyes. The reason I know this is because I went on an incognito tab and every single video I clicked on had an ad play before it. And then something even worse happened. When I was on this tab, I looked into the recommended videos and I found something that completely and utterly left me bewildered. You see, when you're on incognito, your tab is fresh. Everything that's being recommended to you is only recommended to you based on your previous watch history. And if you're watching strange essay animations, the recommended tab is going to be utterly deprived. So when I clicked on one of Genzok's videos and looked over to the recommended tab, what do I find? But a disgusting inflation animation video. Do I dare? I thought to myself. Do I go where no mentally sane YouTuber has gone before, open up this Pandora's box and dedicate hours of my precious, limited time on this earth to researching degenerate inflation animation content? Well, I think you already know the answer to that. Let's do it. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't even know where to start with this one. I guess we'll begin with the scale of what we're seeing here. Azrael Erlsham, or Azrael as I'll be referring to it as from here on out, has more than 420,000 subscribers and more than 200 million views. I didn't know just how popular inflation content is, but there's the proof in the pudding. I don't know about you guys, but am I the only one who thinks that this is on the rise? How many boomers do you know that are into inflation stuff? Like, none. It didn't happen. These days though, it's like everyone and their cousin is into weird, furry inflation stuff. And I don't think that Azrael is helping this, because if you take a look at their content, you'll notice that the characters that are depicted as inflated are very often popular characters from kids' media. media. We're talking the likes of characters from Pokemon, Super Mario, Sonic, The Amazing World of Gumball, Zelda, Teen Titans, My Little Pony, and plenty more I can't even count. These are some of the worst thumbnails I have ever seen. My right honourable friend, I don't want to kink shame, okay? But what is it about a guy being eaten, and then he's inside her stomach and you can see the imprint of him screaming for help from inside her, like, no, help? What part of that gets you randy? Honestly, guys, I might get cancelled for saying this, but sometimes we've got to be brave. I think something is severely wrong with human sexuality if this is the way we're moving forward. 500,000 people have clicked on this. Like, he's in fear. Look at him. Given that the characters featuring in these thumbnails are popular in children's media, I don't want to say that this is them sicking their fetish on kids intentionally, but I definitely don't think it's impossible for these thumbnails to be shown to kids. When it comes to the content featuring within these thumbnails, it's usually, for the most part, some sort of indie gameplay where you're feeding the characters, but from time to time it will include fully fledged animations, which means that this definitely counts for Animayhem. On top of that, I don't know if this is a huge deal to you guys, but I thought I might as well at least mention it. Some of the characters that they depict as inflated are technically underage. For example, Raven and Starfire from Teen Titans are teens. Tails is, according to a Google search, fucking 8. And apparently Amy's 12. So it's probably not great that they're being included in fetish content, even if the horse has definitely left the barn decades ago for that one, considering all of the Rule 34 made on all of those characters over the years. Oh, and speaking of fetish content, this is fetish content, right? That's against YouTube's rules. YouTube in its own monetization checklist tells you that you're not allowed to make content that is sexually gratifying for people, which means that you can't make kink content. I don't know if this fetish blow-up game is kink content. I bet you some people are into it, and the animations definitely do count. So therefore, by YouTube's own rules, this channel is not allowed to be monetized, surely. This channel is neither terminated, I don't know if it should be, I don't know the fine print on it, but we'll roll with it. But then it's not age restricted, which means that kids can access it, and given the thumbnails, it's not exactly great. And then it's monetized, which means they're making money out of this. And it also means that a human reviewer at YouTube must have at some point seen this channel because they check it before they monetize you and went, nothing to see here, give this guy his bag. Like, what? Call me a narc all you want, I don't care. This channel is going against YouTube's terms of service and therefore should see some consequences. Roblox animators have gone too far. If you guys have seen my recent animation exposed videos, then you'll know that we talk about Roblox animators quite a lot, discussing the downfall of vile creators such as Notive and Ribs. And today, we have one more to add to that list. Mr. Obvious. So in case you don't know Mr. Obvious, he was one of Roblox's oldest users, having created his account all the way back in 2007. For a short time, he was a very esteemed content creator, producing a handful of animations during his time on YouTube, with all of them doing fairly well in the grand scheme of things. More than 600,000 channel views, more than 6,000 subscribers, and in 2014, he even became a Bloxy winner, which I guess is like the Roblox equivalent of a Streamy. But just 3 years on from his Bloxy win, and his reputation would take a sharp turn. In 2017, Ruben Sim would release a video accusing Mr. Obvious of being a predator. I would have recommended you guys to check this video out, but to be honest, I'm not too sure if it's up anymore. On YouTube, I wasn't able to find it, potentially through a copyright issue. The only way that I could access it was through the Wayback Machine. On the subject of this video, it came with an incredible amount of evidence, which, if the screenshots within this video have not been altered, depicted Mr. Obvious attempting to develop a relationship with a 15-year-old. For context, when these messages would have been sent, Mr. Obvious was 22. During his interactions with her, he would allegedly groom her, send her inappropriate videos, and even went as far as soliciting naked images. Now, if these screenshots weren't enough, to my understanding, some audio clips were also leaked, which I'm going to play in just a moment. That said, I do want to give a warning here because what you're about to hear is not only extremely creepy, but also extremely cringe. So if you want to skip over this audio message, then make sure to go to the timestamp on screen now. For the rest of you, Here's the clip.
So I want you to know that the bottom part here is really sensitive, and the head is the most sensitive. My word's low. But yeah, just do this and it's super freaking delicious and hot.
Do you know what really stands out to me here? The fact that he had to give this girl an anatomy lesson. Like, way to not make it seem like there's a huge difference in experience and age gap here, dude. Now, Ruben Sim within his video would reveal that he actually reached out to law enforcement because of this, and even decided to reach out to Mr. Obvious himself just to see how he would respond. But he received a series of very hostile replies, and then got blocked. Within Mr. Obvious's response, he even pulls the "how dare you assume my gender" card, which really does date this to 2017. I'm sorry to burst Mr. Obvious's bubble, but clearly this was not going to get him off the hook. The jig was well and truly up, and it only got worse after more and more people came forward to address that Mr. Obvious had apparently tried to contact them too. Message after message, photo after photo, suggestion after suggestion. He allegedly tried to excuse himself by saying that he was on antidepressants, but once more, this is a very weak source excuse for allegedly committing literal crime. What did he expect? Does he think he can just scran an antidepressant and then go chasing kids around the playground and he get let off in a court of law? What? Mr. Obvious, that's not how antidepressants work. I mean, the amount of alleged evidence that came from so many different ranging sources against Mr. Obvious was quite astounding. Ruben Sim really did do a good job compiling it within this video, and it led to Mr. Obvious becoming one of the most detested Roblox animators of all time. He seemed to try and swerve the cancellation by renaming his channel to Awesome Robloxians and privating his Twitter, but the damage was well and truly done. There was no coming back from this. But Mr. Obvious is just one exposed animator that we'll be discussing. He's in bad company because today I still have several more to show you. For this next story, I'm going to take a moment just to slow the pace of things down because what we're about to talk about isn't very nice. It's not the sort of thing that I like to discuss, but it is relevant for a video like this. Allow me to tell you the story of Rage 19. So Rage 19, real name Jamie Spicer Lewis, or JSL as we're going to refer to him as, was an old school animator on YouTube. And even if you've never heard of him, you very well might have seen his work, as he himself has more than 70 million views on his channel with almost 250,000 subscribers. He's previously worked alongside Jack's Films on his Harry Scar video, which has 1.4 million views, as well as the ultra-viral videos Asdf Movie 3 and Asdf Movie 5. Looking at the credits of those videos, you can see that only one animator is credited, and that animator is him. For anyone that's unaware, Asdf is Tom Scar's magnum opus, I guess. At the very least, it's his most recognizable series. This series of animated videos have generated more than 600 million views, and that's not even taking into account the songs, the deleted scenes, and anything else. In fact, just Asdf Movie 3 and 5 alone, the ones that he worked on, have generated more than 100 million views, and the series has most definitely etched itself into the YouTube Hall of Fame. This is arguably the most famous series of animated videos that the internet has ever seen. Asdf aside, Jamie has also worked on Ed's World, the incredibly famous in its own right webcomic created by the now deceased Ed Gould. And his input on some of the internet's highest profile productions makes it all the more devastating that in April 2021, a Twitter user known as Rachel Kiki, who voiced Tamara on Ed's World, came out to allege that Jamie Spicer Lewis, or JSL as she refers to him as, had begun a sexual relationship with her when he was 28 and she was 16. Pause now if you want to read the entire statement. But I will go through various important claims. For example, how she stated that she met him at 15, that typing his full name gives her anxiety, that he was an alcoholic and sent self-harm images to her, that even when they were being intimate, he was talking about other women, and that their relationship ended a year later. She also mentioned that she had been severely negatively impacted by her relationship with him, having daily panic attacks and being diagnosed with PTSD in the aftermath. But even that's not where it ends. Within this post, she claimed that there was a power dynamic, as obviously being 12 years her senior and having worked on some of the internet's biggest animations, she looked up to him, but she claimed that he used her for cheap thrills. Apparently there was no love or romance in her relationship. She was a dark, dirty secret to to be hidden away from the rest of the world. She also claimed that once the pair had broken up, he kept incessantly trying to get back into contact with her, and she threatened him with legal action if he ever tried it again. Now, this elicited a shocked response from people within his circle. Several creators such as Tom Scar, Dodie, and Rob Denbliecker replied with support, which to me implies that someone like Tom, who was associated with Jamie, didn't know what he was getting up to, especially considering the reply he received from Kiki. This story was also reported on Dexerto, and it was posted on the Eddsworld subreddit, showcasing that there was a fair amount of outcry surrounding it. But strangely enough, during my research, I wasn't able to find a single prominent video discussing the situation. This might be the first one. Ever since these allegations came to light, the Rage 19 channel has been a ghost town, with its final video dropping in August 2020. In the comments, I've identified two types of people. The first are the poor, innocent folks that just want to know where JSL is and why he hasn't uploaded for the past 5 years. The other, those who know what's alleged to have happened, are sharing the information, often cursing his name in the process. Now, many speculate that these days JSL is in prison, which, given the severity of what Kiki had to say, is a possibility. That said, having done some research into him, I'm very much inclined to believe that that is not the case. And I do just want to remind everyone watching this, please do not harass anyone that I've mentioned in this video. Despite what the allegations might be, they are just that. Allegations. We should hear them out and take them seriously, but if he hasn't been charged, it would be incredibly inappropriate for us to assume what he has or hasn't done, especially if it hasn't been proven in a court of law. YouTube's kids animators have a reputation for being absolute deviants. And to be honest, it's not tough to see why. I've done a bit of digging over the past week, and honestly, my mental sanity has completely left the building. So let me show you an example of why with an animation channel that everyone's talking about right now, Momo the cat. Now, Momo is a relative new kid on the block. This channel isn't even a year old yet. It was created back in June 2025, but in the half year since it first spawned in, it's generated so much hate and backlash. I mean, seriously, everyone and their mother has had a chance at this point to take a shot at Momo. And because I like money, I'm definitely not going to miss my opportunity. In case you're unfamiliar with Momo, she's, or at least I think it's a she, is a little blue cat that loves to sing songs. Take a look at her. Oh, she's so cute. I'm sure nothing bad can come from this cute little innocent thing, so let's take a listen to one of their songs so you can get a flavor for this content.
I have an extra mommy and my mommy doesn't know, 'cause she only comes to see us when my mommy isn't home. She brings me little presents and she says that we're best friends, but I shouldn't tell my mommy 'cause the presents would all end.
Momo, no! You innocent fool! So I take it you get the picture now. Let me address the elephant in the room. Momo the cat is a cartoon that looks like it's for kids, but it is most certainly not. I could see how easy it is for young children to stumble upon this and not really understand what kind of content they're getting into. Don't get me wrong, it's not like there's anything explicit, nothing graphic here is shown, but this reminds me a lot of something like Shappy's Way, where these characters, which are clearly inspired by children's media, are stuffing a bunch of inappropriate content and innuendos into their work. And if you think that I'm over-exaggerating here and think that it's impossible for kids to find this content, then we only need to look at the comment section to find out. The comments I'm about to show you come from a video where Momo's singing about her secret mummy, aka her dad's mistress. Please Momo, you have to tell your mum. I feel bad for this cat, he doesn't know his entire family is freaky. My mum said that's about cheating. What the heck is this? This is for kids and I am a kid. I'm 8 years old looking at this. Brilliant, guys. We have a literal 8-year-old watching a video about a stripper mistress having an affair in front of a kid. And to be honest, that's probably on the tamer end compared to most of Momo's songs. They've done a video about Bonnie Blue, a video where Momo's dad is a prison bitch, a video where Momo's sister went to a Diddy party, and a video where Momo's dominatrix aunt apparently has a red room. The list goes on and on. On a side note, I do have a question about whether some sort of AI is being used here for the vocals, because listen to a few of these clips and pay close attention to the voice.
My grandpa has a white van, he never lets me in. He says they grin. My brother has a gym friend. He met on the wrestling team. They both wear matching outfits and oil before they scream.
Okay, it's definitely possible that these were all sung by different voice actors, I guess, singing voices, whatever. But I just question, if you would have hired a human, why wouldn't you just make the voice consistent and hire them again? On top of that, I don't know too much about music, but there has definitely been some heavy work done to the vocals. Maybe this could be auto-tuned. Again, I'm no expert, I don't know for sure, but I do have a sneaky suspicion that this could have been generated by AI. All in all, things are only getting worse, because Momo the cat is all over the internet. Outside of its 67,000 subscribers on YouTube, it has 743,000 followers on Instagram, and actually has over 1 million followers on TikTok. Keep in mind, and I've made this point before when it comes to Shappy's Way, because their content is short form, people don't get a choice in it showing up. You can swipe away, yes, but if it's in your algorithm, you are destined to see it. And with its bright color and innocent animation style, I wouldn't be too surprised if kids like that 8-year-old found it without the help of YouTubers making call-out videos. But that's just one of the worst kids animated channels that I've seen. We still have plenty more to cover, including one that literally admits to being a fetish channel, and one that's been accused of terrorizing children, but still made its owner generational wealth. But before we get into those, we have to discuss one channel that was arguably so egregious that it actually got sued. So with that said, let's get right into it. This is Wolfoo. So if you don't know Wolfoo, consider yourself blessed. I'm sorry in advance, but I'm going to have to expose you to this IP. For the uninitiated, this is an animated web series that was created back in 2018, and it centers around a 5-year-old wolf named, as you might guess, Wolfoo. This show is largely hated, for reasons that we'll get into in a moment. But in the meantime, let me show you a short clip from this show so you can see it in action. Before I do, I just want you to think to yourself, does this seem familiar? Does anyone else feel that this is a bit close to home? Well, maybe that's because this is allegedly a blatant knockoff of Peppa Pig. And if you don't think so, let it be known that there's actually a bit of studio drama here, because back in January 2022, the creators of Peppa Pig actually sued Wolfoo. And worse yet, after this got covered by YouTubers, the creators of Wolfoo tried to legally pressure them, like in the case of Saberspark.
Well, I got screwed, and let me tell you why. So back in January of this year, I uploaded a video where I allegedly said that Peppa Pig was being ripped off by a show on YouTube called Wolfoo. Wolfoo is, I mean, you take a look at it, judge for yourself. Yeah, you know, it's your opinion. I'm not gonna say one way or another at this point, but you know, you can form your own judgment on the matter. But my video was taken down. To be fair, I took it down, but I was told to. I was asked to. There seems to be this process when it comes to lawyers where they can, you know, kind of flex their financial muscles and say, hey, you can take the video down, or you can go to court.
Yeah, I really hope they don't come for me after this. I do also want to mention that I feel as though the purpose of a children's show is to A, educate them, but B, show them positive ideals. I'll let you decide for yourself whether or not they did, but the fact of the matter is that there's an allegation out there that Wolfoo blatantly ripped off Peppa Pig, and if that's true, then surely it's not befitting of people running a children's television show. Now, this is my message to the legal team of Wolfoo. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, this is just mine. I feel as though if your child spends more than 5 minutes watching this, it's over for them. One of the main critiques of the show is that it's allegedly brain rot and has an over-reliance on toilet humor. So let me show you Exhibit A. But that's not even where things end. We still have much more to discuss, especially regarding Wolfoo's love of shit. this is a true story, okay? When I was doing research for this video, I decided to look Wolfoo up on TikTok just to see what kind of content they post, and I found this video, seemingly by the official Wolfoo account because it's literally checkmarked, and the video where in the opening 5 seconds a character takes a literal shit is captioned, "If Wolfoo takes a shit on the beach, what will happen next?" What the hell even is this? Okay, I understand that TikTok, in their terms of service, state that anyone using the app needs to be 13 or older. But let's not kid ourselves, the iPad generation are on it. There is a reason that the official Peppa Pig account has almost 5 million followers. And it's not because Dave from accounting wants a hit of nostalgia. It's the parents following the accounts for their kids. Or it's just kids. Even then, look at the comments. Why did you say the sh word? How could you say the bad word? Hey, don't say shit is bad word. These messages are either written by people that have a tenuous grasp on the English language, or more likely in my opinion, children. This sort of thing, I'm sorry, but Peppa would never get away with it. Surely there was never an episode where anyone literally soiled themselves, and in Wolfoo, I mean, I've not seen every episode, but it seems to happen quite a lot. When there are so many better alternatives for kid shows out there, such as Bluey or Peppa Pig, the fact that this is so popular, having 13 million subscribers on YouTube, has led for the web series to receive a lot of backlash. But Wolfoo, despite allegedly being a cheap knockoff with questionable morals, isn't even the worst animation channel that we'll be looking at today. The next one we'll discuss, I think, is much, much worse. But before we get to it, right now we're about halfway through this video, so I just very quickly like to remind you that if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It's the easiest way to show your support for this series. I'll carry on making these videos as long as there's demand for them. And also, if I'm gonna carry on, definitely let me know who I should cover down below in the comments. Also, if you watch my content and you haven't already, please don't forget to follow me on Instagram at foxakimbo, link in the description. With that said, if you're not yet convinced on why you should subscribe to me, let me show you why with our next story. The degradation of my mental sanity continues with Erd Cartoon. Now, when doing research for a video like this, it is inevitable that your algorithm will eventually become completely and utterly tainted. But fortunately for me, I was able to harness that taint to discover Erd Cartoon. This channel makes animations including characters from Italian Brainrot, Sprunky, Inside Out, and The Amazing Digital Circus. And let me just say that by very briefly looking at the thumbnails of these videos, you can quite quickly see that something strange is afoot. Some of these thumbnails show booty, some of them show characters on the toilet, one of them shows some sort of Raggedy Ann doll literally getting bent over the knee and spanked, and several of these thumbnails show characters getting wedgied, which is, spoiler alert, fetish content. But I guess, realistically, the only way to find out if this content is really as bad as it seems is by taking a look at it. So let's watch a short excerpt of one of its videos to see if it's really as bad as it seems.
Keep quiet and watch. Any second now.
Looking up girls' skirts so early in the morning.
Sorry.
If you were honest, I was going to give you a free peek.
Okay, so I have many questions. First of all, why did the creator of this animation think it was appropriate to include an upskirt storyline? Second of all, the voice acting work here is clearly some sort of text-to-speech, because what the hell does keep quit mean?
Keep quiet and watch. Keep quiet and watch.
I think they very clearly made a typo in the script and just decided to include it anyway. On top of that, that's not even the worst part of this episode, because in the scene directly before this, they show the following. Now, if you're that one guy in the back, the contrarian, that despite everything I've already shown you, whether it be the wedgies, or the butts, or the upskirts, somehow do not think that this is a fetish channel, then let me show you the channel's description. I like to create animations for fun based on the fantasies in my head. Like, brother, this is the smoking gun! On top of that, this channel's profile picture is an AI sheep monster that's getting penetrated, by the looks of it, by some sort of weird take on soft serve ice cream with sprinkles. And to be honest, I can't even begin to explain what I'm seeing right now, but it smells of a weird fetish. Okay, let's play a little game. How big of a problem do you think this is? And when I say that, I want you down in the comment section below to predict the amount of channel views and subscribers that Cartoon has. Keep in mind that this channel has uploaded 47 videos. I'll give you just a moment to type your answer. Pause the video now if you want to play along. The real figures, I think, are a shock. So Cartoon has now more than 300,000 subscribers, as well as, get this, more than 82 million views, as of the time I wrote the script in late January 2026. First of all, that means that they're a bigger channel than me, which thoroughly infuriates me. Please make sure to like and subscribe. But also, it means that they've got an insane batting average when it comes to views. Remember that they've only uploaded 47 videos, meaning that they average almost 2 million views per video. 2 million! Which is even crazier considering that outside of one video uploaded by Ratch2K, I don't think anyone on YouTube is talking about them. The reason for this, I theorize, is that their content would be hidden away in YouTube's underbelly. You have to have a very specific and also cursed algorithm to find this sort of thing. You see, the vast majority of full-time YouTubers are probably, I imagine, young adults, who aren't exactly the target audience of Sprunky, The Amazing Digital Circus, or Italian Brain Rot. These are all IPs whose audience mainly comprise of children, meaning that it's most likely children, and weird Reddit gooners, who make up the bulk of these views. And I think that it's even more likely that the bulk of the channel's viewers are children, given that this content is not age restricted. I looked it up on a fresh browser and all of the videos were available. Now, I know that there's nothing explicit in these videos. It's not like Anger from Inside Out is whipping his sack out or anything, but this is, by design, fetish content. And its main demographic is kids. So I think that this channel is very fortunate to be getting away with it, all things considered. But the next set of channels we have did eventually get blacklisted by YouTube. Let's move on to one of the most popular, but also most disastrous animation niches of all time, that being Monster School. When it comes to kids animators, I think that it would be impossible for me to make this video right without discussing one of the most popular animation niches from one of the most well-established kids franchises, that being Minecraft. However, you know as well as I do that over the years there has been some very inappropriate Minecraft content uploaded to this platform. I've spoken about a Minecraft school shooting on this channel before, and that's not to take into consideration all of the controversial and predatory Minecraft creators that have made content on this platform. Or, more relevant to our story today, the weird world of sexualized Minecraft animations. Now, I know a few of you guys are going to be thinking to yourself, what the fuck? They're sexualizing Minecraft? That game with the blocks? Quite literally one of the most unerotic games ever designed? And to that I say, yes. Yes, they are. In fact, according to The Hub, Minecraft was its third most searched video game of 2025. Minecraft. But a couple of years ago, things would get way out of hand when it came to a niche of Minecraft animations known as Minecraft Monster School. And although Minecraft Monster School is a bit of a dirty word these days on YouTube, things weren't always this way. The original Minecraft Monster School was created back in 2012 by Willcraft. These videos, which included Minecraft mobs in a school setting, went ultra viral. You can see here the view counts in the tens of millions that they were getting, with the most popular of these uploads almost at 100 million views today. However, as with almost all things on YouTube, once you have a hit idea, others will be lining up to try and take a slice of your pie. Thus, unknowingly to Willcraft, he had just opened up a Pandora's box that would take more than a decade to be shut. Inspired by his content, others started making their own Monster School videos. The question is though, if you have various other channels out there that are all making the exact same content as you, how do you outdo them? The answer? You make it more extreme. These videos throughout the years have had a huge degradation in quality and a huge uptick in clickbait and sexual themes. You see, many of these channels that were making Monster School content didn't actually care for the concept of Monster School. It wasn't their idea. They were only interested in making money. And when it comes to these sorts of videos, whether it be Monster School or Elsagate, they're not good for kids to consume, but they are so damn clickable. They include characters that kids know, love, and search for, and they feature topics that are very, very taboo and inappropriate for them to be consuming, but that they like to watch anyway, even if it's not good for them. And so, flash forward to the late 2010s, and the new meta for these kinds of videos was to make them as sexually charged and as fetishy as possible. And not long after, people started to notice online. These videos were tainted, corrupted by money-hungry and morally dubious leeches. Like, guys, this is not how the original series went. Steve getting chained up to a bed has nothing to do with Minecraft Monster School. Weird pregnancy videos have nothing to do with the series' original formula. How was half of this even allowed? You would have thought, after the entire Elsagate situation, that YouTube would have acted a little bit quicker when it came to another niche of content that was essentially dominated by weird sexual videos targeted towards literal 5-year-olds, but history once again repeated itself. Worse yet, according to a video created by Mr. Epic, which I'll link down below in the description, he did an investigation and learned that many of the Monster School channels might have been run by a content farm.
I then went to the About section of one of the channels to see if I could find some more information, a link to social media or anything, to which I found none, besides a linked business email. And guess what? All of these channels here had the exact same business email connected to them. It looked like these channels, of which had a combined total of 7 million plus subs and billions of total views, are all owned or at least managed by the same individuals, like some sort of Minecraft Monster School content farm.
And the worst part was that whoever was behind this basically got away with it. Some of these videos have tens of millions of views. That is generational wealth, ladies and gents. However, it does appear as though YouTube eventually stepped in. In June 2023, Phoenix SC created a video showcasing that the Monster School live streams, which were extremely popular in their own right, had been taken down from YouTube's Minecraft section.
What do you notice about this live page? Something is missing. What is it? Monster School. It no longer exists. YouTube have taken care of the Monster School situation.
And doing my own research, I looked up Monster School and sorted results by the past year, with there being suspiciously few results. I imagine that YouTube just demonetized all content that was Monster School related, leading to its creators giving up because they just care about money. I don't see how else one of YouTube's most popular niches is just eradicated overnight, and thus, school was out for these channels. Last week, a series of viral tweets caught my eye. Tweets that rocked me to my core and made me question everything I knew about the king of storytime animation. This all started with a single sentence written by Chazington, who had replied to a post that described the Odd Ones Out as a millennial that sounds like a toddler. Chazington's reply read, "My reaction to the Odd Ones Out laying off his entire animation team." And in its replies were people acting in shock and awe to find out this news. Now, when I came across this, I found it a little bit strange because the incident only blew up on Twitter a couple of days ago as of the time I'm recording this. But to me, this was old news because I remember seeing this weeks ago on the r/YouTube drama subreddit. The news broke on there about 3 weeks before it blew up on Twitter. And the reason people know this is because one of the Odd Ones Out's former employees, known as Antfart, had sent a message on Discord revealing that he had been fired, meaning that his main source of income had been snuffed. People did not like this news. In fact, they immediately formed an angry mob 3 weeks later and started bad-mouthing the Odd Ones Out. There were people openly telling him to go F himself, people were taking shots at his Life is Fun song. For whatever reason, a Cheeto decided to upload a video discussing the situation where in his thumbnail all of the animators have gay flags behind them, which isn't even a part of the story.
What the hell does this have to do with anything?
Long story short, why could nobody be normal about this?
Just be normal!
When this was going down, if you searched up the Odd Ones Out's name on the internet, you would think that Hitler had been reborn or something. But in a very rare instance in the Animayhem series, today I'm actually going to defend the animator. And the reason I am is simply because we just don't know what's gone on behind the scenes. And just because I'm defending the Odd Ones Out does not mean that what happened to Antfart doesn't suck. It's an unfortunate part of YouTube and just business in general. Just because you hire someone doesn't mean that they need to be hired forever. It's just business. Audience members really didn't know enough about the situation for hate to be sent. But after heavy pressure and backlash, a statement by James, aka the Odd Ones Out, would clear things up, so let's give it a read. He stated that firstly, he did still have an animation team, but he was scaling the numbers down. He made the point that in the previous year, he had only completed 3 videos, which made it clear to him that he had to make a change. And to be honest, I can see where he's coming from. 3 videos for a year's work is, to be honest, not very good in the slightest. I understand that his channel gets a lot of returning viewers. He has very rewatchable content. His channel still gets hundreds of thousands of views a day, even though he very rarely uploads. I'm not going to pretend like the Odd Ones Out is broke. In all likelihood, he is very far from it, but if you have a large team, 3 videos just isn't going to cut it to remain profitable. He states that it was a difficult thing to do, and it was not a reflection on anyone's talents. He also states, and I think this is important, that he had one-on-one conversations with everyone, and that he had paid severance packages to full-time freelancers. People in the replies to this have taken the opinion that I generally have, even though they are much more blunt about it, but if he's been respectful and if he's paid people severance packages, I don't really know if there's much more that can be done. The Odd Ones Out is many things, but a businessman is one of them. He cannot be held to ransom. If he felt as though he had to make a change within his company, then he's within his right to do so. To me, this entire thing came off as a bit parasocial, as if the people reacting to the situation actually knew anything about the inner workings of it. It would have been much better to wait a little bit before all of this hate and condemnation came out. Though, as I'm sure many of you guys at home know, sometimes that's just the way that Twitter works. But that's just one animation controversy that we'll be discussing today. Ladies and gents, we have many more, and they get much, much worse. Later on, we'll be discussing a YouTuber that actually didn't treat their collaborators right. And also still to come, we have whatever this is. But ladies and gents, we'll get to that in due time, don't you worry. I need to make sure that this bleach is rationed correctly, so as the video goes on, the stories will get worse. With that said, let's move on to the continuation of a story that I told in a previous video, because there are some very interesting updates that I want to bring you about Momo the cat. If you guys remember back to the last episode of Animayhem, you'll know that we spoke about Momo the cat. In case you haven't seen it, feel free to watch it using the link in the description, but long story short, this is an animated cat that sings a bunch of innocent songs, but in reality, it's just a bunch of innuendos and misunderstandings.
My auntie has a playroom that smells like bubblegum. She said it's just for grown-ups and I'm not allowed to come. There's mirrors on the ceiling and sparkles on the floor, with swings that hang like jungle vines and locks on every drawer.
The cat's family, simply put, are freaks. They're always going off to diddy parties or inviting sexual partners back home, and the joke is that Momo is clueless about the whole thing. In that video, I discuss how many kids are finding Momo. But if I'm being perfectly honest, while it's definitely not a good thing, I would be lying if I said that this was some sort of world-ending tragedy, okay? I would be a hypocrite for saying it is because I discovered South Park when I was like 9 or 10 years old, and it's definitely not appropriate for a child of that age. However, since I discussed Momo, I went down a rabbit hole and found some clues that might just let us piece this whole story together. Firstly, Momo was briefly banned from TikTok since my last video. About a week ago, I was looking the account up and I couldn't find it. That said, right now, it's back. Secondly, and much more importantly though, clones of Momo have been popping up all over TikTok. Allow me to introduce you to Funny Duck Family. Does this look familiar? This is yet another channel that plays on Momo's formula. Some people might see this and think it's a ripoff. I see this and know it's a ripoff.
Daddy works the night shift at the factory in town. As soon as he is out the door, my mommy wears a gown. She says she needs some sugar from the neighbor down the street, but Mr. Jones comes over with no shoes upon his feet.
Now let me introduce you to Cat's Adventure Zero, which is basically the same thing, but instead of Momo or a duck, it's a cat.
Mommy keeps the microphone in her drawer, only uses it when Daddy's at the store.
And they're not alone. What about Porky Story?
My daddy pays girls to play with him. They only come to see him when my mommy goes to work.
This one I think was taken down considering the most popular Porky Story channel is now Porky Story 2. Here's another one called Dog Story.
And I don't think the car was doing too well, 'cause it shook so much you could really tell.
These channels have a combined total of more than 500,000 followers on TikTok, and through them, we can actually decipher a lot. First and foremost, it confirms a fear I had about Momo. In the original video, I said this. On a side note, I do have a question about whether some sort of AI is being used here for the vocals. Maybe this could be auto-tuned. Again, I'm no expert, I don't know for sure, but I do have a sneaky suspicion that this could have been generated by AI. These channels' existence essentially confirm that everything is AI. I refuse to believe that there's some animator in a back room doing all the work for these channels, which just so happen to coincidentally all look the exact same. In fact, their visual similarities and overlaps make complete sense to me now because I have concrete proof that they are very likely part of a massive content farm. On both the pages of Funny Duck Family and Cat's Adventures, they both have the exact same description and link to a now defunct Gumroad page. This is surely not a coincidence. At the very least, these two are owned by the same person. And that makes me question the ownership of these other channels too. I strongly believe that these are all made using the same process. I should mention, just in case there's anyone in the back that's still somehow unconvinced that this is AI, Funny Duck Family, for reasons that escape me, recently decided to upload an AI-generated horror animation. Whoever is behind this channel clearly doesn't get how content works, because why would you even do that? Anyway, tangent aside, Momo is different to the rest of these. But something is going on here. I mean, these videos are very successful. I can see the market for this type of content. But if these guys are going to be AI using plagiarists, then I'm going to call them out for being AI using plagiarists. And that's another point that I want to bring up. If these guys aren't all owned by the same person, then they are copying Momo. I don't really have any strong feelings about Momo. As I said, I was embellishing a little bit in my original video. I was kind of Helen Lovejoy maxing.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
But at the very least, Momo was here first, and I give it credit for that. And unfortunately, I'm immediately rescinding that credit because I have another update. I didn't mention this when I initially came across Momo, and there's not really too much to it, so I'll keep it brief. Momo the cat has a cryptocurrency. You guys know how I feel about crypto coins, but in case you don't, there is a video about it. If you needed another reason to understand that this is just a grift, I guess here you go. So unfortunately, Momo the cat is back in the bad books alongside its clones. And if you guys at home want to keep yourselves out of my bad book, then make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and you're enjoying so far. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at FoxAkimbo, link down in the description, and whilst you're down there, get active in the comments section. Let me know, who should I discuss next? If you lead me to an animator that I discuss in a future Animayhem episode, then I'll give you a massive shout out. With that said, and without further ado, let's move on to a content creator that ruined their online reputation after an incident that some people have called animation slavery. Ladies and gents, it's time for yet another piece of Roblox animation drama. If you guys watching at home have watched the Animayhem series before, then you'll be well aware that I've spoken about these guys, these Roblox YouTubers, and the ludicrous schemes they get up to plenty of times before. And in the curious case of my username's this, things are no different. This story can be traced back to the 1st of January 2022, after a Twitter user known as Java Creates made a tweet that would shake up the Roblox landscape. His tweet attacked My Username's This, quite a large Roblox creator. Java Creates alleged that he hadn't been paid for a video that he had animated for him. The video, called Better Together, was in fact the third most viewed piece of content on My Username's This's channel, with a whopping 11 million views. Java would create a Google Doc detailing the situation from his point of view, where he alleged that My Username's This had earned more than $18,000 for this video. Java had asked him to split the money, especially given that My Username's This didn't actually do any work for it. He didn't contribute anything other than uploading the video. There were some other contributors, such as someone known as B-Slick and someone else known as RZA, so Java thought that an equal 4-way split would be fair, 25% for all parties. However, My Username's This didn't like that idea. You see, when Java had initially contacted My Username's This, he offered to work for free, and My Username's This would put up screenshots showing this. However, it appears as though My Username's This thought that those were the terms for all of eternity. Just for reference, I want to clear this up because I didn't explain this amazingly the first time. When Java had initially contacted My Username's This, he agreed to do a previous project for free. Better Together was a project after this. And before he did it, the two never agreed on payment. In fact, they didn't discuss payment until much after the video was released. So I do understand the perspective from My Username's This. Talks of payment came out of nowhere. Within DMs, he can be seen arguing that because there was no contract, and that because Java had previously offered to work for free, only contacting him for a revenue split after the fact, that he was under no obligation to do anything about it or pay Java. Legally, I'm sure that's true, but morally, the Roblox community had a massive problem with this. To most people, My Username's This didn't contribute enough to the video to warrant a 100% cut. He didn't do the animation and he didn't do the music, he simply clicked upload. Considering that he made 18k from this, sliding over a little bit of cash really wouldn't have hurt him. Especially since he was called out by a creator known as Creekcraft who claimed that he was a millionaire. Taking a look at My Username's This's channel, he has over 500 million views. At a $3 RPM, which is a conservative estimation by the way, his channel would have generated at least $1.5 million. So yes, I think that Creekcraft was right. To make matters even worse, Java was barely even credited. My Username's This came up with the absurd excuse that you can't copy and paste in comments, which, for reference, is an outright lie. You definitely can. He was credited at the very bottom of the description, which for anyone who doesn't know, that is not general etiquette. If you're going to credit someone, you either do it at the top or you pin a comment. Because very, very few people are going to dig to the very bottom of the description to see who's credited. His reluctance to pay or even credit did not present his character very well. Now, things did get a little bit out of hand. Java did eventually ask for 100% of the profit, which I think was a bit optimistic. But an element that might have had a part to play in that was that Java was 14 years old when he did this. And that adds a few extra implications because it now meant that My Username's This was essentially exploiting child labor. It is honestly diabolical to me that this is not the first time I've discussed the exploitation of child labor on this series, but apparently the big channels of YouTube just can't get enough. As I said, I think throwing a little bit of cash his way would have remedied the situation. I don't think that Java would have come out with this if My Username's This just would have paid him 15 or 20%. He could have kept the lion's share of it. Throwing him a few $1,000s that he had basically inherited would have saved him so much hassle, stress, and drama, and maybe his career, as some people believe that this incident might have killed My Username's This's channel. In the end, My Username's This would pay people for the video, but he announced that he was going to be taking a step away from YouTube following it. Now, first of all, let's get one thing straight. He did do the right thing in the end, so I'll commend him for that. However, his actions in the first place were definitely unsavory. And it sucks that he had to be called out by the entirety of Roblox Twitter in order to do what was the moral choice, especially as someone that was already very likely financially well off. Better Together has actually since been taken off the channel. According to a wiki page, it might have been hit with some sort of copyright dispute. My username's This was apparently done with Roblox anyway. Apparently he was burnt out, so maybe he was always going to walk away from the table. But this was an entirely preventable cancellation, which makes it all the more disastrous. He has uploaded a few videos ever since, but his channel is now hemorrhaging subscribers, losing more than 60,000 in the last 2 years. But ladies and gentlemen, that is not even the worst animation controversy we have in this video. I teased it before, but in my research, I came across an utterly monstrous channel that I am almost certain you have never seen before. So let's talk about the utter depravity that is mine, KV1. Guys, I don't even know where to start with this one. I would look at the channel's description to see what it's about, but it's just a bunch of AI written drivel. So I guess the next best way to see what's going on here is to take a look at the videos themselves. But the problem with that is if I show any of them, there is a decent chance that this video gets sent into the shadow realm. But alas, for the sake of you, I will risk it. Let's take a look at one video in particular. It was the first one that I saw from the channel, and let me know down below in the comments if you see anything wrong with this. In this video, Alex, who has been given breasts, is chained to a bed and is force-fed literal shite. She's then chained up some more, against her will I might add, and has men lining up around the block reminiscent of a Bonnie Blue challenge. One pays some money, shrinks down, and enters a door in between her legs. I mean, guys, what the f*** are we even doing here? I can't lie guys, this was one of the most off-putting videos I have ever covered on this channel. And all of their content is just like that. These are the sorts of videos where my good old trusty bleach comes in handy, okay? And I'm gonna have to give myself a double shot of the stuff because we're going even further. Let me show you one of their most popular videos, perhaps even worse than the first. Keep in mind, I later saw this video on my YouTube homepage. YouTube was recommending me this video. In this video, which has been seen more than 2 million times for reference, you have characters trapped in a glass container, and then, in some sort of weird take on a glory hole, you have Minecraft characters covering the only exit with their butt cheeks and filling these glass containers up with literal crap, saying that you can help the character if you like the video. Which I don't even get because the glass container's filled up, the character's already covered with shite. This, by the way, tells me that these videos are marketed towards children because only a child or a legitimately lobotomized adult would think that them liking this video would have any impact on anything. Oh, and let's not forget, this is Minecraft! Literally one of the largest children's IPs in the world. Okay, these videos are targeted towards children. I have few words to describe my shock, bewilderment, repulsion at this utter scat fetish brain rot. So you know what? I'm done. I'm wiping my hands clean of this literal shit. I wonder why it's only ugly and transgender people hating on me. That was a message posted in the infamous crash out of one of the most notorious AI animators of all time, the creator of Fruit Love Island. But to understand just why he crashed out this way, we need to take things back a few weeks. This was an incredibly popular development that I seem to have missed. A bunch of huge creators such as August the Duck, Cat and Chat, and Saberspark have made videos covering this. But when this was going down, I guess I was just busy dealing with VTuber P drama, so I was distracted. But long story short, a few weeks ago, an AI animated series, if you want to call it that, known as Fruit Love Island, created by an account called AI Cinema 021, was gaining immense popularity on TikTok, nearing 3 million followers in just a couple of days. As you might be able to expect, this was an AI-generated series based on the popular dating show Love Island, but instead of people, they were replaced with fruit people. They took what is, in my opinion, the most brain-rot show in history and somehow, someway had the ability to rot the brain even more. To call this quality content is like the equivalent of calling my videos suitable for employed people. Of course it's not. But why should I tell you how bad of a show this was if I can show you instead? So let's take a quick look at the kind of content uploaded to this account.
Charita, who's hotter, Grapenzo or someone else guy?
Okay, don't hate me, but Orangelo has that citrus thing going on.
You really gonna dance with her right in front of me?
Oh, relax, it's a party. Pina Pina really thinks she's hot shit just because she stole Bananito. Girl, please, that banana still looks at me. You...
What the? Bring it! Stay calm!
I said stop!
This isn't over.
Right, this is nothing! It is quite literally a nothing burger upon a nothing bun with extra nothing sauce on top, a side of nothing fries and a nothing shake to wash it down. That said, with this overnight popularity came pressure. Pressure that the person behind the account couldn't hack. It also came with hate, leading to many of the account's videos being reported. They made several posts to their TikTok story claiming that it was exhausting working on the show and saying that they wanted a bit more respect for the effort they're putting in, stating, "What a lot of people also ignore is how much time these videos take. I write the script, plan the scenes and keep redoing things because the AI generation messes up constantly. Each episode takes hours, and some of you definitely won't understand until you try it." In response, they got absolutely flamed in the replies. People were saying that this was poppycock, and to be honest, I agree. Let me show you something that debunks AI Cinema's claims. The show dropped its first episode on the 14th of March, okay? It dropped its 19th episode on the 22nd. I'm sorry to say, but if it takes you a week to produce 19 episodes of a show, then making each episode isn't hard. What on earth do you mean that clicking the redo button on your AI video generator is tough work? People used to go into the mines, okay? And they complained less than you. So people kept pushing back, reporting more and more videos, with some of these getting removed, and with AI Cinema eventually getting demonetized. This would lead to the holy mother of crash outs. AI Cinema was fuming. In the end, they would announce that they were going to put an end to the series, putting this image up to their story and writing, "Alright, fuck all you bitches, no more Fruit Love Island. Since people are so obsessed with it, all my videos banned, I make no money. I guess I'm being targeted because no other AI account getting fucked. You all heard it from Bananito himself. Bye." But the crash out would continue with several more posts, like this one where they write that half of their videos had been removed, going on to say that they're going schizophrenic if TikTok don't look at their appeals, threatening to use AI to use up water just out of spite, and saying that it's only ugly people and transgender people that are hating on them. I think that this crash outs in particular really did expose AI Cinema to be a bit of a gremlin behind the scenes. What the hell did the ugly and the trans have to do with your demonetization, okay? The ugly, they're my community. Don't take their name in vain. And let's be honest here, they didn't really do anything. They are a monkey with a typewriter that just so happened to stumble into Shakespeare, if you can call Fruit Love Island that. At the very least, they stumbled into a very popular video series. The most work they had to do was click generate video when it messed up. And then making trans and ugly people catch strays and saying that you want to waste water just for the sake of it as some sort of mastermind revenge plot, I think just does speak volumes about the character of the person behind this account. Also, the fact that they stopped uploading just because they got demonetized I think speaks a lot too. They're not doing this for the love of the game, they're just doing it to make money. But ladies and gentlemen, that's just one animator, if you can call it that got exposed. Welcome to the latest episode of Animayhem, the series where I uncover the most notorious animation controversies on the internet. Still to come today, we have arguably the most severe animation controversy of all time. It's one that you guys at home have been asking for since the very start of this series. Today, we'll be tackling it. But before we get to that, first of all, let's discuss Latin America's most downfallen animator in recent memory. So I guess I'm probably going to have to introduce Magenica to you, who I'm going to refer to as Mage from here on out, because he's an animator that's very popular in the Latin American side of YouTube. English speakers probably won't be aware of who he is, considering that they don't speak his language. But a few weeks ago, I had a commenter reach out to me that suggested I should discuss him. So a huge shout out to Boredom Is Not, who sent this my way. If you want me to discuss an animator in particular, then don't forget to let me know their name down below in the comment section. Just like with Boredom Is Not, if I feature your choice in a future episode, I'll give you a massive shout out. Anyway, for a long time, Mage would upload insanely popular animation commentary videos like such classics as Infiltro en la comunidad Skibidi and Cuando Sponeas en un Isla. And these videos would be seen by hundreds of thousands or even millions. In the end, his channel grew to more than 2 million subscribers, and he cultivated a very loyal audience. Which was why it was even more disastrous that back in early 2026, he was exposed for all sorts of deviant behavior. In February of this year, a Twitter account known as Francosinata released a gigantic thread filled with a grand total of 60 screenshots and 1 video. And these alleged that Mage had engaged in inappropriate contact with a minor. Now, as I said, I don't speak Spanish, so I had to get into contact with a few of you guys on Instagram, and friends of the channel Harley and Tree, as well as the YouTuber Dantavius, helped me translate. I showed this exchange with Dan, and somehow he knew that the girl Mage was texting was calling him a submissive. Don't ask me how Dan knows the Spanish word for submissive. As it turns out, no, Mage told her that he was dominant. And this interaction tells us that Mage did have adult conversations with people. But another screenshot, this one much more damning, would tell us exactly who these conversations were being had with. This portion appears to be a Discord DM sent by Mage to his server. Please ignore the Homer, I think that whoever edited this just wanted to clown on him. My friend Harley translated this part and was nice enough to write down the passage in a document, which reads, "I want to clear up the situation with sincerity. I will not run nor lie about this topic. I had inappropriate conversations with underage fans. I never sent nor asked for explicit photos, but I did talk about sexual topics, I crossed boundaries, lied, drew stuff, etc. This is bad. I do not justify this in the slightest. Before this becomes public, I talked to the people involved. I assumed responsibility and I asked for forgiveness. I will not delve into morbid details or expose anyone. I will not attack the people who expose me. I understand the frustration and the disappointment this causes. What matters to me right now is to accept the consequences of my actions and be stricter with my boundaries and conduct so that something like this doesn't happen again. I don't expect you guys to trust my words today. Change, if it exists, will be seen with time. I don't expect forgiveness nor defense. I just want there to be a record that I'm not denying what I did, nor hiding it." There is more message here, but that's the long and short of it. Mage came out to admit to the allegations on his Discord server before they became public. But here's the thing, I don't even need to speak the language to know a bit of what he sent. The picture here that he allegedly sent to a victim tells me all I need to know, that he very clearly has a smelly feet fetish. And we know that he likes smelly feet because of the stench lines. Also, I found this in a YouTube thumbnail, again, showing his love for stinky feet. And Mage also appears to have drawn NSFW artwork of his own character, as well as plenty more pictures. My friend Tree translated the text in these images, and they're generally horny requests, like saying, "Make it bigger" or "I want it all." And this exposure led to other people in the animation community putting pieces together. Jaro made a post saying that Mage had made an animation where her character gets cut in half and then there's milk inside of her. Jaro, if I pronounced her name right, is a YouTuber with nearly 2.5 million subscribers. She claimed that this was some sort of fetish, which lines up with a lot of the rest of this. It appears as though Mage just kept mentioning fetishes, lest we forget the stinky feet picture. This is all to say that there are mountains of screenshots, allegations, and accusers. Mage appears to have taken public ownership of it, releasing a livestream that's title translates to "What I Did and What I'm Going to Do." A Twitter thread written about this states, "Bro, remember that this sicko is only apologizing because they exposed him. The guy doesn't feel any guilt, since from the videos that have come out, it's revealed that he thought the situation wasn't that big of a deal and that it could just be fixed. If you take a look at the comment section of Mage's most recent video, it's filled with heartbroken fans of his, lamenting that he became what he swore to destroy. People feel betrayed. This isn't anger they're displaying, this is disappointment. Disappointment in a creator that hundreds of thousands trusted. In all honesty, it's quite a sad thing to look at. But it's not just on YouTube that he's taken a pounding from his former fans. The same thing has happened on Twitter. Just by looking at this picture, I know what they mean. This speaks 1,000 words. And I also can guess what CP Necker means too. I absolutely love Latin American humor, I can't lie to you guys. Mage's final long-form video was uploaded in December 2024. It appears as though he didn't put any up in 2025, instead opting to switch to shorts. But upon doing so, he would gain even more popularity, achieving view counts in the millions. But for the past 3 months, since these allegations came out, his channel has been all but abandoned. I think it's fair to say that at least for the foreseeable future, Mage's absence is set to continue. Will he ever upload again? If he does, will he be shunned by his audience? These are questions that I have no answer to. So that wraps up Mage's story, but before we move on to our next one, I'd very quickly like to ask you guys that if you're enjoying yourself right now, please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. You can also watch this video as well as my other uploads on Spotify, link down below in the description. It is ad-free if you have premium. Don't miss your chance to check it out. With that said, on to the third story of this video. This next animator is one of the most requested that this series has ever seen. And soon enough, you'll know exactly why. His name is James Bear. For the purposes of this story, everything I discuss is going to be condensed. If you take a look on YouTube, most videos discussing James tend to be 45 minutes long, or maybe even more. I do not have the time, nor the sanity for that. So this is going to be a more direct telling of his story with less fluff. In case you don't know him, James's channel was made back in 2013, and for several years he gained an audience, making fan animated videos and skits. Some of these videos were extremely popular, and even broke view counts exceeding 1 million. In one of his videos, he even collaborated with Pyrocynical. But make no mistake, behind this seemingly innocent channel, some of the darkest secrets in YouTube history were waiting to be revealed. Years ago, in early 2022, a Twitter account known as Lalo Does Art would drop a thread that would change the landscape of YouTube animation forever. Armed with screenshots and links to archived pages, they would allege that James did horrific things to his minor sister. One of the reasons we know this is this screenshot, which allegedly came from a conversation that James had with someone known as Aaron Preston back in 2016. Aaron would release a document of 182 pages discussing James. A document that, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I skimmed through because there is no way in hell I am sitting down and reading 182 pages about this guy. Unless your name is Jaime Lannister, I'm not reading 182 pages of your incest story. That said, I have done thorough research outside of the document. For obvious reasons, I'm going to be censoring a lot. This is one of the most taboo subjects I have ever touched on this channel, and I'm sure it's coming across on the screen. This is quite a difficult topic for me to discuss, so please bear with me. One screenshot he shared, I'll show you, but this is basically an admission to what he did. If this is legitimate, if he's being honest, words can't describe how twisted this is. He admits to doing these things, claiming that he was at the time 13 years old and she was 9. He tries to pin it on a few different factors, like the fact that he was depressed or that his father was abusive, and to me, none of that really matters. You don't collect a get out of jail free card for these things, even if he was a minor at the time. The pure fact is, if the rumors are correct, he did this. Plain and simple. He was the older brother, he was 4 years older. This would have been on him. Just for extra confirmation, Lalo would include screenshots of alleged ex-friends of James who reiterated the allegations. Apparently, James had told them this news himself. which would make sense considering that we have proof that he's done this in the past. In response, James would claim that much of it had been taken out of context, and even released a video trying to explain his side of the story. A video that was later taken down, but later re-uploaded onto different channels. And within that video, James would state that he had been defamed by bad actors that just wanted to smear his name for their personal gain. He would also once more try to pin this on his childhood and state that this was an isolated incident that had since been resolved.
However, as much as I don't want to talk about my past, what happened back then was an isolated issue. It only happened once when I was a minor. It was already dealt with. Those who are involved are fine and made amends. I am not a threat to anyone, and the other claims are not true. This situation is old news, and despite what you think about all of this, no one has any right to judge my past, because it was never anyone's business to begin with, since it was a very personal situation.
At this point, years down the line, anything that could have been said about the situation has already been said about it in various different videos discussing it. But I do want to remind you guys, please do not send hate or harassment his way. Now, the reason I decided to include him in this video is that there is actually a small update to the situation. Because as of about a month ago, he randomly decided to upload a new video titled Totally Informative Content. This video has been utterly destroyed in the comments. To be honest, I'm surprised that the comments weren't removed. People are letting him know that the internet didn't just forget, and they're repeatedly telling him that he does not belong online. And others are pointing out that this upload seems like it's trying to pretend that the allegations against him don't exist, that he's trying to act like nothing happened. If I was James, I would just stop. It is crystal clear by this point that the internet does not want him to return. He is no longer welcome online. He should keep his head low and stay away for good. The fact that he kept mentioning this years after it happened, I find to be very strange. At the end of the day, he was the one that leaked this information. If alleged ex-friends of his are to be believed, he would share it unforced and uncoerced, which to me would suggest that at least at one point in time, he either took pride in it or he didn't see it as a severe issue. This was leaked through him telling others about it. I don't know why he would tell people so freely otherwise. I don't want to speculate, but to me, he just needs to get out of the public eye for good. There is nothing more for someone who has done the things that he is accused to have done. And there is no downplaying it either. It might not be anyone else's business, but the fact that he's told people mean that they now know, and they form their own opinions about it.